Chapter 274. It had been more than 20 days since Immortal had arrived at the second hunting ground. On this day his body finally felt the burning sensation that he felt before leveling up. After consuming another drop of dragon blood, his body temperature soared rapidly. Soon, it reached a level that Immortal could not bear. Just like the previous times, the high temperature lasted for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, his body temperature began to drop. He looked at his attribute interface again. Name, Immortal. Level 5 Hunter, Level 4 Long Xianxia. Evolution Path, Titan Dragon. Immortal was in a good mood. He had leveled up 3 times in less than a month in the second hunting ground. Who else could have done it? Since the establishment of the second hunting ground, such a thing had never happened before. In less than a month he had leveled up 3 times. Immortal began to look forward to the future. Now that he had mastered all his transformation skills, he only lacked the wings and tail to become a dragon. If he were to become a desolate hunter, would he be able to repair his wings and tail? When he could transform into a dragon, how strong would his attack be? At the same time, on a grassland more than 50,000 kilometers away from the Death Swamp, 2 groups of people were chasing 5 night ghosts. Damn it, why is this guy so difficult to deal with? We have been chasing it for an entire night. Can't it understand that we are dying? A scavenger said angrily. Another hunter said while panting, Nonsense. Nonsense, do you think the night ghost spirit is so easy to obtain? He has the night ghost spirit. Even if the energy in the energy bubble is depleted, it can quickly recover. Of course it is difficult to deal with. I have finally seen the power of the night ghost spirit. The other group of people shouted. We have 2 groups of people but only 1 night ghost spirit. Even if we get it, we can't split it. Are you stupid? No matter what, let's get the night ghost spirit first. As for how to split it, that will be after we kill this night ghost. After saying that, the 2 groups of people blocked the night ghost from 2 different directions. They condensed their genetic weapons and attacked. The night ghosts were instantly killed. Soon, the night ghost that possessed the night ghost spirit was resurrected. He quickly fled into the distance. These people wanted to stop the night ghost. However, after chasing for half a night, the energy in their bodies was almost depleted. He didn't dare to use his energy casually anymore. He could only watch as the night ghost escaped. Moments later, 4 or 5 more night ghosts appeared and protected this night ghost as they fled. This night ghost with the night ghost spirit seemed to have some kind of attraction. Along the way, other night ghosts came to protect it. This gave everyone a headache. They couldn't kill him, nor could they catch him. This made people feel that it was too ket up. However, a night ghost spirit was enough to nurture a desolate hunter. One had to know that a desolate hunter was able to establish a sect and establish a powerful force. Under this huge temptation, they could only continue forward and chase after the night ghost. The night ghost that possessed the night ghost spirit was running towards the northwest. That was the direction of the Death Swamp. It knew that the Night King was in the Death Swamp. As long as it reached the Night King, the powerful Night King would be able to kill these despicable humans. At this time, after Immortal had advanced to level 5, he knew that he had killed most of the night ghosts in the Death Swamp. He left the Death Swamp and planned to find the next gathering place of the night ghosts. 1 ticket allowed him to stay in the second hunting ground for a month. He wanted to kill as many night ghosts as possible before the time limit was up. At the same time, the 2 groups of people chasing after the night ghosts attracted a few other groups of people. They saw that the night ghost with the night ghost spirit was bigger than the average night ghost. It had 2 horns on its head and barbs on its back. They also remembered the legend from before. It was said that decades ago, the desolate hunter who obtained the night ghost spirit said that night ghosts with the night ghost spirit could transform. After transforming, they would have 2 horns on their head and barbs on their back. Thinking of this, everyone became excited. They also joined the ranks of the people chasing after this night ghost. At first they were very excited. With their energy weapons they could easily kill this night ghost. But soon their expressions darkened. Every time the night ghost was killed, it would recover as quickly as possible. Then it would stand up and continue to run for its life. Was a night ghost with the night ghost spirit so difficult to kill? Even a few level 1 and level 2 telekinesis masters couldn't kill the night ghost at the cellular level with their telekinesis. With its cellular recovery speed, I'm afraid only a level 5 psychic master and above can kill it. In fact, it was just as the level 2 psychic master said. Immortal had been able to kill the night ghost with the night ghost spirit because of his level 4 dragon will, which was equivalent to the psychic power of a level 8 psychic master. He seemed to have killed the night ghost with his sharp claws. At the same time, his dragon will had also killed all of the night ghost cells at the cellular level. This prevented it from coming back to life. At this time, the level 1 and level 2 Long Yanshi could not do anything to this night ghost. Gradually, the other factions also noticed the night ghost and joined in the hunt for the night ghost. Just as they were approaching the death swamp, that third young Master Cheng and his 4 bodyguards also appeared. Third young Master Cheng had just killed a few level 1 wild beasts and was resting. He was holding a piece of compressed biscuit in his hand. He complained as he ate. "I haven't eaten properly for almost a month. All I eat is this brick-like stuff. I'm going to throw up." The person next to him advised, "Third young Master, this is the reason why Master sent you here. I guarantee that if you encounter a similar situation in the future, you can at least last a few days." Tisk, third young Master Cheng sneered and was about to speak. At this time he saw more than 70 people chasing a night ghost in the direction of Black Mountain Pass. He saw that this night ghost looked different from a normal night ghost. Third young Master Cheng's 4 bodyguards immediately understood. A level 6 hunter quickly said, "Third young Master, this night ghost has the night ghost spirit." Third young Master Cheng froze. "Night ghost spirit? What do you mean?" Another said, "Third young Master, you may not know, but the night ghost spirit is something produced in the night ghost's body. It's extremely precious. After absorbing it, you can immediately become a hunter." Third young Master Cheng heard this and trembled. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go." Chapter 275. When third young Master Cheng heard the benefits of the night ghost spirit, he suddenly had an idea. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go." When the others heard this, their eyes lit up. If they could get the night ghost spirit, their master would reward them handsomely when they returned. One of them even thought to himself, "If I could get the night ghost spirit and become a desolate hunter immediately after absorbing it, how much effort would I have to put in? At that time I would establish my own force and live a good life. Wouldn't it be better than being ordered around by others and being the bodyguard of this stupid young master?" Hence, the 5 of them immediately chased after it. However, the night ghost had already reached the entrance of Black Mountain. It was about to enter the death swamp. Everyone was a little anxious. "Hurry up. If it enters the death swamp, it will be troublesome." The death swamp is full of night ghosts. Even level 6 and 7 desolate hunters don't dare to enter casually. Third young Master Cheng saw this and laughed. He said, "This night ghost belongs to the Cheng family of Yuzhou." When everyone heard the words Cheng family of Yuzhou, they were all stunned. Finally they stopped. Some of them were very unwilling. They had been chasing for half a night, but now they had to give it up. How could they be willing to accept this? If they could get the night ghost spirit, it was very likely that they would be able to transform from an ordinary level 1 or 2 desolate hunter to a desolate hunter. It would be easy for them to establish a sect. With their talent, this was the closest they could get to becoming a desolate hunter in their lives. If they lost it, there was a 99% chance that they would not get another chance. Now they had to give it up. How could they be willing to accept this? However, so what if they were unwilling? Not to mention that there were so many people here, they might not be able to get the night ghost spirit. Even if they got it, they would not be able to become a desolate hunter immediately. If the people around third young Master Cheng made a move, they might not even have the chance to escape. Hence, these people could only give up the night ghost. The Cheng family of Yuzhou was ranked 84th in the entire Yuzhou. It was a force with a real desolate hunter. They could not afford to offend them. Someone even flattered him. "So it's young Master Cheng. Sorry for the disrespect. This night ghost spirit should belong to young Master Cheng. Even if we obtain the night ghost spirit, we won't be able to enjoy it. Since it's third young Master Cheng, what else is there to say? The night ghosts are yours." Being flattered by so many people, third young Master Cheng couldn't help but laugh. There was undisguised pride in his smile. Although he didn't like his old man very much. However, he had to admit that the name, Cheng clan of Yuzhou province, was quite useful. He waved his hand and said, "Since everyone says so, it would be impolite for me to refuse. Later on, if you encounter any trouble in Yuzhou province, just report the name of Cheng clan of Yuzhou province." Everyone was secretly delighted. Getting a promise from third young Master Cheng was much more reliable than getting the night ghost spirit. Third young Master Cheng then said to the 4 bodyguards beside him, "You can start now." The 4 immediately nodded to each other. The level 4 psychic used his draconic will to wrap around the night ghost, restricting its movements. The other 3 level 6 hunters surrounded the night ghost from 3 different directions. Everyone was envious when they saw the night ghost's movements being restricted. However, they could only be envious. Third young Master Cheng's eyes were also shining. Soon he would obtain a night ghost spirit, and in the near future he would be promoted to a desolate hunter. When that time came, his old man wouldn't dare to scold him anymore. On the contrary, he would have to treat him with respect. As for his half-brother, let's see if he still dared to compete with him for the position of clan leader. Competing with a hunter for the position of clan leader was courting death. When he thought of this, a wild smile appeared on his face. However, at this moment, a scene that no one had expected occurred. A black figure suddenly appeared in front of the night ghost, much to everyone's surprise. At the same time, the black figure's right fist. It smashed into the night ghost's head. Bang! The night ghost's head exploded. Even the night ghost's body seemed to have been shaken by the impact and exploded. Strangely, the night ghost that had resurrected more than 10 times in the middle of the night couldn't be resurrected this time. At the same time, a crystal that emitted a weak white light appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The sudden appearance of this crystal, which was emitting a faint white light, made everyone present feel their mouths go dry. After all, this was something that could promote them to a hunter. After absorbing this thing, they wouldn't be able to advance even half a step. They would forever be a level 1 hunter. However, most of them had average talent. There might not be a level 5 hunter in their lifetime. Now there was a chance for them to become a level 1 hunter. How could this not make them excited? Just as they were getting excited, the black figure reached out, picked up the crystal that emitted a weak white light, and inserted it into his right arm. Oh no, he took the night ghost spirit. Someone suddenly shouted. The others also reacted. Just now, they were only focused on the night ghost spirit that had just appeared. Stop, this belongs to third young Master Cheng. Someone suddenly shouted. You dare to snatch something that belongs to third young Master Cheng? This is third young Master Cheng of Yozhou's Cheng family. You dare to snatch something from him? Draw your sword. These people shouted one after another. Immortal couldn't be bothered to pay attention to them. He inserted the night ghost spirit into his left hand. The two night ghost spirits seemed to be very excited when they met. The light was even brighter than before. Third young Master Cheng frowned when he saw this. He had already recognized that the guy who took the night ghost spirit was the man beside the beauty when they bought the tickets. At this moment, Emma had already rushed over. Everyone glanced at Emma and didn't pay attention to her anymore. To these hunters, a night ghost spirit was much more valuable than any beautiful woman. Only third young Master Cheng's eyes lit up. With a kind smile, he said to Emma, "Beauty, you must have suffered a lot with him these days." Emma didn't pay attention to him. She stayed by Immortal's side like a loyal servant. The smile on third young Master Cheng's face disappeared and he frowned again. When he looked at Immortal, his eyes were filled with anger. This woman ignored him, but she was so loyal to this man. This made him feel like he had lost face. Since that was the case, he would kill him. Thinking of this, he growled at the 4 bodyguards. Kill him. Chapter 276. The young master of the Cheng family had been coveting Emma for a long time. He had played with many women. He had long gotten tired of those innocent girls, mature ladies and lawless. And in the past 6 months he had discovered the benefits of mature women. Therefore he had a soft spot for this type of woman. Although they had given birth before. Those who had given birth were actually more attractive. When he had first arrived at the second hunting ground, he had wanted to kill Immortal and snatch the woman beside him. But at that time his bodyguards had advised him not to do so. They had said that the purpose of coming here was to gain experience and not to cause any trouble. But now this guy had dared to snatch his night ghost spirit. He gave him a reason. He would kill him and then take this woman for himself. Thinking of this, his eyes couldn't help but reveal a hint of anticipation. However, at this moment the 4 powerhouses had solemn expressions. Even the level 4 psychic said in a low voice, "Young master, it's not good to make a move now. Let's contact the family." Hearing this, third young Master Cheng was instantly enraged. This kid is at most a level 2 hunter. Can't you just kill him? What family? In his opinion, he didn't need to use the family's power for such a small matter. Wouldn't his father scold him to death? The level 4 psychic shook his head and said, "No, third young master, listen to me. He just killed this night ghost with the strength of a level 3 hunter with one punch with his bare hands." The people from the other forces heard the level 4 psychic's words. They all suddenly understood. Their attention just now was all on the night ghost spirit. They didn't care at all how the man in black killed the night ghost. Now that they heard the level 4 psychic's words, they remembered. Just now, the man in black really killed the night ghost with the strength of a level 3 hunter with his bare hands. Without using any energy, he killed the night ghost that they couldn't kill for half a night with his bare hands. This guy's physical strength was really terrifying. Hearing this, third young master Cheng was slightly surprised. But more than that, he complained, to be able to kill the night ghost with one punch with his physical strength. So, its real strength should be above a level 5 hunters. Why would a level 5 and above scavenger come to the second hunting ground? Are you bored out of your mind? What the level 4 psychic master said next shocked these people even more. Also, to be able to kill this night ghost at the cellular level, the level of telekinesis must be very low. In other words, there is at least a level 4 psychic master behind him. Everyone's heart trembled when they heard this. They couldn't help but turn to look at Emma, who hadn't paid much attention to her. There was no doubt that the level 4 psychic master was this woman. Third young master Cheng also looked at Emma. He had really underestimated this woman. However, sooner or later he would make this woman submit to him. The level 4 psychic master then said to third young master Cheng. So, third young master, it's best if you contact your family immediately. That way you'll have a higher chance of getting those 2 night ghost spirits. His words were almost whispered into third young master Cheng's ear. Third young master Cheng stared blankly at the level 4 psychic master. The level 4 psychic master said, when he inserted the night ghost spirit into his hand, I detected that he already had a night ghost spirit in his body. This is a serious matter. Third young master, please contact your family as soon as possible. Third young master Cheng immediately turned to look at Immortal. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. This brat had already gotten his hands on a night ghost spirit. Since he already had a night ghost spirit, he still wanted to steal my night ghost spirit. How preposterous. Thinking of this, his eyes were as sharp as an eagle's as he stared at Immortal. He said, return those 2 night ghost spirits to me. In his words, he actually considered the one that Immortal had previously obtained as belonging to the Cheng family. Immortal's gaze swept across the crowd and finally landed on third young master Cheng. On what basis? Third young master Cheng raised his chin and said proudly, on the basis of the name Yozhou's Cheng family. Immortal sneered. Yozhou's Cheng family? That's nothing. As soon as he said this, everyone present was stunned. Was this guy crazy? The Yozhou's Cheng family was one of the top 100 forces in Yuzhou. He actually said that the Yozhou's Cheng family was nothing. It was as if he didn't want to live anymore. Third young master Cheng frowned when he saw this. Brat, you have to think carefully. The Yozhou's Cheng family, bang. Before third young master Cheng could finish speaking, he heard a muffled sound. When he looked down, he saw a claw piercing his chest. The claw looked like a night ghost's claw, but it was fiery red. In its claws there was a beating heart. In the next moment, the claw exerted a little force. Bang. That heart was instantly destroyed. Fresh blood and fragments splattered all over third young master Cheng's face. Third young master Cheng's expression changed drastically. He quickly reached out to grab a bodyguard next to him and shouted, "Save me!" Before he could finish speaking, his entire body had already fallen to the ground. The bodyguard next to him also had a terrified look on his face. He did want to save third young master Cheng just now. Not only him, but all the 4 bodyguards would be able to save third young master Cheng in time with their strength. However, just as they were about to make a move, they realized that an invisible force had restrained them. The 4 of them could not even blink, let alone make a move. The 4 of them were extremely frightened. The one who felt it the most was the level 4 psychic master. As a level 4 psychic master, his psychic power was already very strong. However, in front of the other party's psychokinesis, he did not even have a chance to resist. The other party's psychic power was definitely above that of a level 5 psychic master. Thinking of this, he cursed himself in his heart. Damn it, why did he not notice this level 5 psychic master earlier? If he had known, he would have left this place even if he had to give up the night ghost spirit. However, it was all too late now. The moment third young master Cheng collapsed, everyone was shocked. Were these people crazy? They dared to provoke the Yozhou's Cheng family? However, in the next moment, their shock turned into panic. This guy even dared to provoke the Cheng family and kill third young master Cheng. What else did he not dare to do? Especially when third young master Cheng's body slowly fell down. They saw the figure behind him. It was a huge figure that was about 3 meters tall. There were 2 horns on its head, and its body was covered in armor like scales. There were spikes on its shoulders. Its entire body was fiery red. No one knew what kind of creature it was. However, this creature was able to kill third young Master Cheng without anyone noticing. It was definitely not weak. Thinking of this, these people did not dare to stay for even a second longer. They all wanted to turn around and escape. However, could they escape? Chapter 277. They wanted to escape, but could they? Previously, they had helped third young Master Cheng and asked Immortal to give up the night ghost spirit. Now that third young Master Cheng was dead, they wanted to leave just like that? One could imagine that if they returned to Yuzhou, the first thing they would do would be to look for the Cheng family. They would tell the Cheng family how they saw their men kill third young Master Cheng. They would use this to gain benefits. Immortal naturally would not let them go. However, Immortal was too lazy to deal with these people himself. He only used his dragon will to kill third young Master Cheng's 3 bodyguards. After that, he would leave everything to the Night King. Immortal wanted to see how strong he was. The Night King had the telekinesis of a level 4 psychic master and could restrict the movements of these people. He was also extremely fast. He could also drill in and out of the ground at will. In just over 40 seconds he had killed all 70 people. Immortal nodded slightly. The Night Monarch's strength could be considered decent at the moment. A level 4 psychic master combined with a level 4 evolved night ghost was enough to crush a level 5 hunter. After killing all these people, Immortal used his draconic sense to carefully investigate the area. After making sure that there were no traces of his identity, he quickly left the Black Mountain Pass with Emma and the night ghosts. Of course, he knew that with the technology of the Flaming Land, the Cheng family of Yuzhou would find out sooner or later. However, if he could stall for as long as he could, he would stall for as long as possible. And don't forget that Immortal now had 2 night ghost spirits. After returning, he would be able to create 2 hunters. By then, would he be afraid of the Cheng family of Yuzhou? What a joke. Next, Immortal stayed in the second hunting ground for a few more days. He obtained tens of thousands of drops of giant dragon blood. After consuming it, he felt that the energy in his body was stronger than that of a level 10 hunter. Now, even if he did not use his dragon will, he could kill a level 10 hunter with just his energy. In other words, he was invincible below the hunter level. This time, his harvest on the second hunting island was not small. Finally, a month passed. Immortal put the Night King into his personal reservoir and brought Emma and her son back to the second hunting island. After a few hours of flying, they returned to base number 1. When Happy heard that Immortal had returned, he could not help but rush over in delight. As the saying goes, absence makes the heart grow fonder. After not seeing each other for a month, the two of them were naturally very close. Emma took the child and excused herself from Immortal. As for the Night King, Immortal also released him. The people in the base saw that Mr. Immo had brought the monster back. They were all a little fearful. They had seen mutated beasts, desolate beasts, vampires, zombies and zombies on Earth. But he had never seen such a monster. However, when they saw that this monster treated Mr. Immo like a servant treating his master, they were all relieved. Immortal released the 10 night ghosts from his personal reservoir. He planted the seeds of the night ghost spirit in all 10 of them. Immortal took out the volcanic crystal and gave it to the Night King. He said, "Keep an eye on the volcanic crystal in them. After half a year, the night ghost spirit in their bodies will mature." The Night King replied respectfully, "Yes, master." Immortal asked people to place the Night King and the 10 night ghosts in the basement. He told the Night King to tell Guijutao if he needed anything. The Night King accepted the order and quickly left. Then Immortal found Guijutao and said to him, "Choose 2 people. Choose 2 people. I have something here. After consuming it, you will be able to become a desolate hunter for a short period of time." Guijutao's eyes lit up when he heard this. Desolate hunter. He estimated that it would take him a few decades to reach this level. "Mr. Mo, look at me." Guijutao could not help but lick his lips and say embarrassedly. He was a little sissy to begin with, and his embarrassment made him look like a little girl. Immortal could not help but feel a chill. He quickly waved his hand. "Stop. Although you can become a desolate hunter in a short time after taking that thing, your strength will not be able to increase by even 1 level. So it's only suitable for those without talent." Guijutao thought for a moment and said, "Mr. Immo, I think I'm suitable. Although my talent is not bad and I might be able to become a 2nd or even 3rd level desolate hunter in the future, I'm now in charge of the entire base and have no time to cultivate." Immortal thought for a moment and said, "Everyone in the base is trying to improve their strength. You're the only one who's neglected your cultivation because you're in charge of so many things. Everyone in the base has seen your sacrifice for the base. In that case, I'll give you a night ghost spirit." After saying that, Immortal scratched his left palm with his right fingernail. Two crystals emitting a faint white light appeared in his palm. He took out one of them and said to Guojutao, "This is the night ghost spirit. This is the night ghost spirit. After absorbing it, you can become a desolate hunter." Guojuhu nodded repeatedly. "Thank you, Mr. Imo." Imosher said, "Go back and absorb it." "Yes, Mr. Imo." Guojutao held the night ghost spirit, thanked him repeatedly and quickly left. 3 days later, Guojutao came to Imosher again. At this time, Guojutao's temperament had obviously changed. He had become more feminine. Her every movement exuded the charm of a woman. He even bowed to Imosher like a woman. Seeing this, Imosher was stupefied. Could it be that the night ghost spirit had the effect of changing gender? Imosher looked at Guojutao with the blood dragon's eye. Species: human, level 1 desolate hunter, talent unawakened. Imosher was overjoyed. A real desolate hunter had finally appeared in the base. He knew that after becoming a desolate hunter, one would awaken their talent. Some people awaken their talent at level 1. Some people had to reach level 5 or even higher to awaken their talent. The earlier one awakened their talent, the higher the talent. Their future achievements would naturally be higher. Although Guojutao had not awakened his talent yet, Imosher knew that with the help of the virtual dragon palace, it would not be long before he awakened his talent. Imosher had a faint smile on his face as he asked, "How do you feel?" Guojutao lowered his head shyly. He acted like a girl and said, I feel like I finally have the feeling of being a real woman." Imosher almost spat out. "You didn't castrate yourself before absorbing the night ghost spirit, did you?" Guojutao rolled his eyes at Imosher and said, "Mr. Imo, you're so annoying. Mr. Imo, you're so annoying. Why would I do such a thing? It's just that after absorbing the night ghost spirit, it's like I've completely released the nature of a woman. I feel like my body and mind are finally completely free. At this moment, I just want to say that it's good to be a woman." Imosher. Chapter 278. After another 3 days, the second desolate hunter who had absorbed the night ghost spirit appeared. Now, in the base, the sea dragon clone had reached the strength of a level 3 evolved wild beast, which was equivalent to a level 3 desolate hunter. In addition, there were 2 desolate hunters who had taken the night ghost spirit. There were also nearly 20 cheetah mechs. Such high-end combat power was much stronger than the high-end combat power of some other forces. For example, the Cheng family of Yuzhou, ranked 84th in Yuzhou, only had 1 desolate hunter in their family, and he was only a level 1 desolate hunter. They only had 10 mechs. Now, what the base lacked the most were mid-level and low-level combat power like desolate hunters. However, with the help of the virtual dragon palace, a large number of level 1 desolate hunters would appear in the near future. Now, Imosher was already a level 5 desolate hunter. Next, he should consider looking for some level 5 desolate beasts to improve his strength. There were many infected creatures on the 5th hunting island that were equivalent to level 5 desolate beasts. However, Imosher did not plan to go there for the time being. After fighting for a month, he had to take a break and adjust. Otherwise, if he continued to kill endlessly, how different would he be from a killing machine? So, he checked in at the base every day. He went to the beach to enjoy the breeze with Happy. When he was free, he farmed happily with Happy at Happy Farm. His days were comfortable. On the mainland in Yuzhou, it was not comfortable at all. Because Yuzhou was the closest to the second hunting island on the mainland. Therefore, most of the people who went to the second hunting island were from Yuzhou. However, this time, among the more than 20 forces in Yuzhou, none of the people who went to the second hunting island returned. It was acceptable to have casualties in these hunting grounds. However, with so many forces going at once and no one coming back, it was a big problem. Among them, the Cheng family of Yuzhou, ranked 84th, was the most unhappy. In the Cheng family of Yuzhou, the head of the family, Cheng, was frowning as he looked at the 5 tickets that his subordinate had just brought back from the second hunting island. A subordinate next to him reported, "Master, we have sent drones to conduct a carpet search of the entire second hunting ground 5 times, but we did not find the young master and his 4 followers." Speaking of this, the subordinate's voice was slightly low. He said carefully, "According to our speculation, young master might have met with an accident." When the head of the Cheng family heard this, his tone was filled with suppressed anger. "It's not an accident. It's murder. The 4 people protecting him are 3 level 6 scavenger and 1 level 4 psychic. With such strength, he was invincible in the entire second hunting ground. Who else can be stronger than them?" The subordinate's body trembled slightly as he replied, "This? Perhaps it could only be that mysterious expert." "Mysterious expert?" Qingqing's eyes narrowed. He looked at the subordinate and said, "Speak." The subordinate hurriedly replied, "Our drones have discovered a lot of night ghost corpses in Hell Wasteland and Death Swamp. Almost all of these corpses were killed with a single punch. And from the looks of it, he killed these night ghosts with only his physical strength. We asked around and heard that it was done by a mysterious expert. As for the true face of this mysterious expert, no one has seen it before." Qingqing's eyes flickered when he heard this. A moment later, his gaze suddenly focused. "When did the mysterious expert appear?" The subordinate replied, 31 St. March. A hint of ruthlessness flashed across Qingqing's eyes. "Investigate everyone who entered the second hunting ground from the 1st to the 31st of March. The subordinate's heart skipped a beat. The second hunting ground had a lot of people to begin with. There were at least tens of thousands of people entering the hunting ground every day. Within a month there were more than 300,000 people. It was extremely difficult to investigate. However, with the Qing family's influence, although it was difficult to investigate, it was not impossible." He hurriedly replied, "Yes, sir." Qing added, "Find me all the private detectives in Yuzhou province." The subordinate replied again, "Yes, sir." Hence, in the next few days all the private detectives in Yuzhou swarmed into the second hunting ground. They spent more than 20 days before they finally found some DNA of Qingqing's third young master in the Death Swamp. According to their speculation, Qing was already dead. They narrowed down the scope of the murderer from 300,000 people to 30 people. These 30 people included Emma, Emma, and the others. Qing looked at the information of these people from the projection screen. After a simple glance he asked, "Is there anyone from the top 100 forces?" The subordinate replied, "No." Qingqing's gaze turned cold as he waved his hand. "Catch all of them. I want to interrogate them personally." According to the laws of the Flaming Continent, private punishment was not allowed. Moreover, they only suspected these people and did not have any evidence at all. Therefore, Qing wanted to use private punishment to interrogate them directly. It was obvious how overbearing the Qing family was. Of course, the Qing family was not the only one. Almost all the top 100 forces had violated the laws of the continent to some extent. However, the enforcers would turn a blind eye to it. There was a saying that said, "Rules are for the weak. The strong did not need rules at all." The subordinate heard his master's words and hurriedly replied, "Yes, sir." Then he quickly left. Qing looked at the distant mountains outside the window. His gaze was sharp and ruthless. "How dare you touch my son? I'll bury your whole family with him." At the same time, Qingqing's eldest son, Xuanhuan, and second son, Peng, were also secretly discussing. The eldest son, Xuanhuan, said in a low voice, "Second brother, that useless third brother actually died in the second hunting ground. This is so satisfying." The second son, Peng, said, "Big brother, the heavens are helping me. Don't worry, I won't fight with you for the position of the head of the family. As long as you help me marry the two young ladies of the Su family, I'll enjoy the happiness of family in the future. When our old man passes away, the Qing family will be yours." The eldest son, Xuanhuan, said, "Ha ha, second brother, you really love beauties more than the country." The second son, Peng, laughed. "Big brother, everyone has their own preferences. You love the country, I prefer beauties. I don't understand the beauty of the country, how can you understand the beauty of the beauties?" The eldest son, Xuanhuan, nodded. "That's true. When the time comes we'll each take what we want. However, we still have to help father deal with the matter of that useless third brother. Only by finding the murderer and avenging him can we make father happy." The second son, Peng, agreed. "Big brother is right. When we go to catch the murderer tomorrow, let's go together." Let's go together. Chapter 279. It had been a month since Immortal came back from the second hunting ground. Immortal still didn't make a move these days. He just put the sea dragon clone in the sea near the first hunting island. The sea dragon clone was only a level 3 mutated wild beast. Based on his current strength, its limit should be a level 5 mutated wild beast. The sea dragon clone wandered in the nearby sea and devoured the wild beasts here. The wild beasts here were mostly level 1 to level 5. After the sea dragon clone devoured them, it gained very little. If he wanted to level up quickly, he had to go deeper into the sea. But Immortal knew from the emails and messages of the Qing family in Yuzhou intercepted by Little Monk that the Qing family had confirmed a list of 30 suspects. It seemed that the Qing family would soon find him. So he postponed the plan of sending the sea dragon clone to the deep sea. Finally, another 3 days passed. Outsiders appeared on the first hunting island again. There were 10 of them. And they brought a flying mecha with them. This mecha was not in the form of a cheetah. It was in the form of a giant eagle. Its main function was aerial reconnaissance and aerial attack. The 10 people brought the giant eagle mecha to the sky above the first hunting island. They saw that the entire first hunting island was almost blood red. They were not surprised. A few months ago, someone said that the first hunting island was infected with some kind of virus. But what surprised them was that on the hunting island surrounded by blood red, there was not a trace of blood red around the factory in the central area. Most of it was green. Green vegetables, wheat, corn, and other crops were planted. There were also a few humans and many robots working in the fields. The man in the lead was the second young master of the Cheng family, Cheng Peng. He glanced at the green field below and then shouted loudly, "Immortal, Emma and his stupid son, get out here." In the fields below, the few people working looked up at the 10 people and the giant eagle mecha in the sky. Then they lowered their heads and continued to work in the fields. It was not the first time that outsiders had invaded the base. How could he ever return alive? In the base, there was Mr. Mo and 2 newly matured desolate hunters. At the very least, even if Mr. Mo and the 2 desolate hunters were not around, wouldn't they still be happy? Happy was not any weaker than a desolate hunter. They had been on the continent for quite some time now. He had some understanding of heaven's oracles. He knew how terrifying a heaven's oracle was. Absolute defense, ignores the opponent's level. Absolute destruction, ignoring the opponent's level. It could be said that Happy was the greatest killing weapon in the entire base. With these safeguards in place, what did they have to worry about? The 10 people in the sky were all stunned. Even if the other party's strength was very strong, he should at least pay attention to them, right? But now he was being ignored. Cheng Ping frowned and snorted coldly. It wasn't like they hadn't seen such a pretentious person before. However, no matter how pretentious he was, as long as he mentioned that he was from the Qing clan of Yuzhou, the Qing clan of Yuzhou, these people would immediately become like his grandsons, eager to lick his heels. Thinking of this, he cleared his throat and shouted, "Listen up, I'm Qing Ping, the second young master of Qing clan in Yuzhou province. Tell your island's Immortal, Emma, and their stupid sons to come out immediately." When the people below heard this, they finally reacted. However, when Qing Ping saw their reactions, he had the urge to beat them up. They looked at each other, and the fire of gossip burned in their eyes. Sure enough, Emma was really Mr. Mo's woman. And that child was really their son. But why would their son be like that? Mr. Mo was a smart person and Emma didn't look stupid either. It didn't seem to be hereditary. Cheng Peng was about to go berserk when he saw these people's expressions. Several level 7 scavengers and a level 6 psychic master next to him said, "That's right. Second young master, these people don't know the rules, we have to teach them a lesson." Cheng Peng looked at the virtual screen on his watch, the image of the woman called Emma. He nodded. Originally, he didn't want to use violence because of this woman. But since these people didn't know how to appreciate his kindness, he could only use violence. Thinking of this, he nodded slightly to the keyboard player beside him. The keyboard player immediately started to operate the keyboard on his waist. Soon, the wings of the giant eagle mech trembled. It was about to throw a bomb. This was the Qing clan's way of fighting. No matter what, the giant eagle mech first threw a round of bombs as a deterrent. However, the moment the giant eagle mech was activated, the fiery red light in its eyes suddenly extinguished. Then it fell from the sky towards the ground. Everyone was stunned. "Keyboard player, what's going on?" The keyboard player was also dumbfounded. He didn't know what was going on either. It suddenly stopped working. He hurriedly danced his hands on the keyboard quickly. Just as the giant eagle mech was about to fall to the ground, it finally ejected a stream of particles again. It stabilized its body and slowly flew up. Everyone's expressions also became much better. However, the keyboard player's expression became even uglier. Others couldn't understand the meaning of the series of symbols on the screen. He, of course, couldn't understand it either. Because it was completely garbled. His computer had been hacked. Moreover, even a computer expert like him was at a loss of what to do. Amidst his shock, his 10 fingers danced rapidly in the air. In just half a minute, he had tried at least 10 ways to save himself after being hacked. However, every time he tried, it was as if he had sunk into a deeper swamp. He felt as if every step he was going to take was within the other party's expectations. The other party seemed to have set up a series of traps long ago, waiting for him to fall into them step by step, and he fell deeper and deeper. In the end, there was no longer even a trace of possibility of escaping. Finally, after a moment, he turned his head to look at Cheng Peng. His lips trembled and he said a fact that terrified everyone, "Second young master. Our mech has been hacked. When the people next to him heard this, their expressions changed drastically. Protect the young master, run quickly. A level 7 hunter hurriedly shouted. However, as soon as he finished speaking, 2 energy rays instantly shot out from the falcon mech's wings. Swoosh swoosh, the level 7 hunter who spoke had his head pierced directly by the 2 energy rays. Even the level 6 psychic master behind him had his head pierced directly. When the rest of the people saw this, their expressions changed drastically. It was their falcon mech, but now it suddenly turned to attack them. How could they not be terrified? Run quickly. Run. Keyboard player, activate the self-destruct program. Chapter 280. It had been more than 300 years since the birth of mechas in the Flaming Land. The technology of mechas was very mature. In order to prevent the mechas from being hacked by people with ulterior motives, not only did they set up layers of firewalls, but every mecha was also equipped with a self-destruct program. Once the mecha was hijacked by other hackers, they could also activate the self-destruct program. This would prevent the mechas from attacking them in turn. Cheng Peng and the others saw that it was too late to escape. Cheng Peng hurriedly shouted to the keyboard player, "Activate the self-destruct program." The keyboard player hurriedly operated in a flurry. A moment later, after the mecha killed another level 7 hunter, the self-destruct program finally activated. The huge amount of energy contained in the mecha's hydrogen battery suddenly exploded. Boom, a huge shock wave immediately spread out in all directions. At the same time in the base factory, the little monk suddenly became angry and cursed, "F***ck, give me 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes will do." As long as he was given 5 more minutes, he could even crack the self-destruct program. These bastards. A flying mech was perfectly fine, and they destroyed it just like that. Don't they feel sorry for it at all? If the people of the Qing family knew about this little monk, they would probably want to kill him. A mecha was worth hundreds of millions, who wouldn't feel sorry for it? But you controlled the mecha and wanted to kill us. What can we do? The little monk cursed for a full 5 minutes. After cursing, he wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth. He said, Shurtai. Monks shouldn't be angry. It's good." As he spoke, he put his palms together and closed his eyes. It was as if he had entered a meditative state. But only 10 seconds later he opened his eyes again. Anger rose in his eyes. But the more I think about it, the angrier I get. F***ck, this group of prodigal things? He continued to spit out fragrant words. At the same time, in the sky above the base, Cheng Peng and the others had originally hoped that the huge power of the hydrogen battery explosion would cause great damage to the factory below. They could then take care of the people in the base. Even if it didn't cause great damage, it would cause chaos. They could take advantage of the chaos to escape. But the scene they saw made them unable to understand it all. The shockwave from the explosion of the mecha had just spread out to a diameter of 10 meters. However, it seemed to be suppressed by a powerful force. Flames, debris, and even the sound of explosions only spread within a radius of 10 meters. Anything beyond 10 meters would not be affected at all. Even the sound of an explosion could not be heard. They could only see some flames and thick smoke. Little did they know that this was the effect of the Virtual Dragon Palace's defense. The defense of the Virtual Dragon Palace could not only withstand external attacks, but it could also withstand attacks from enemies within the palace. F***ck. Cheng Peng was shocked. What the hell is wrong with this hunting island number 1? Run. Run. Cheng Peng roared. He didn't dare to stay any longer and quickly fled outside. However, right at this moment, whoosh, a fiery red light pillar as thick as a thigh shot over in an instant. Cheng Peng didn't see the fiery red light beam coming. She felt a chill on her back and chest. Then he saw a beam of light shoot out from his chest and continue forward. In an instant he disappeared into the distance. He looked at his chest again. There was already a thigh-sized hole. At this moment, Cheng Peng's heart seemed to have fallen into a bottomless abyss. Panic was like a tidal wave, engulfing him from all directions. He was instantly drowned by this panic and could no longer struggle to get ashore. Save me, he placed his last hope on the people he brought with him. However, when those people saw this terrifying scene, they didn't dare to stay any longer. They stepped on their flying skateboards and flew away at a speed of 1 kilometer per second. A bunch of heartless bastards. Cheng Peng stepped on the flying skateboard and flew unsteadily while cursing. A big hole in the chest was not a rare thing in the Flaming Continent. With the physical strength of the Flaming Continent scavengers and the medical technology of the Flaming Continent, they could completely recover. However, these people abandoned him and ran away. They usually ate, lived, and spent the Qing family's food. Now that it was time to use them, they ran away without looking back. If he had a glimmer of hope to return to the Qing family today, he would not let these bastards go. At this moment, the others were also extremely frightened. What kind of attack was this? It could blast such a big hole in a person's chest with just one hit. This hunting island #1 was really terrifying. If they didn't run now, were they going to stay for the new year? Whoosh! Another fiery red light beam hit the head of a level 7 scavenger. That level 7 scavenger's head exploded instantly. It was like opening a watermelon and putting in a powerful firecracker. Boom! The watermelon exploded instantly. Pieces of watermelon pulp and watermelon juice splashed out. Cheng Ping saw this and was both scared and happy. He was scared that this person's head would explode. If he didn't run quickly, he would follow in his footsteps. He was happy that he let you run away. Run again. Whoosh, 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 more than a dozen fiery red light beams shot out. The bodies of the scavengers and psychic masters who ran in front of Cheng Ping were instantly blasted into pieces like bedsheets with big holes. They fell down one after another. Cheng Ping was completely panicking this time. Everyone he brought with him was finished. The mecha was also finished. Then just as he thought of this, whoosh, 2 light beams came one after the other. They cut him in half at the waist. His upper body flew high into the air. He kept spinning and rolling in the air. He felt a little dizzy and wanted to vomit. It was very uncomfortable. He had been prone to motion sickness since he was a child and often vomited. And this time he was afraid that it would be the last time in his life. Whoosh, another beam of light shot out. He just happened to see the light pillar shooting straight at him. And the place where the light beam came from was actually the air. There were no weapons there, and the beam of light came out of nowhere. How was this possible? Did they use some kind of technology to make their weapons invisible? But he didn't need to know. Boom! His head also turned into a watermelon. At this point, the Qing family's dozen people were all wiped out. Speaking of which, this virtual dragon palace was simply a killing machine. It could kill anyone below the level of a desolate hunter. With such a defense, even if the other party had tens of millions of people attacking the base, as long as there were no desolate hunters, they were basically sending themselves to death. In the fields around the base, those who were farming looked at the people in the sky being killed one after another. They didn't have any emotional fluctuations. They were already used to such a scene. At this time, Mo sure looked in the direction where these people fell. His eyes were full of killing intent. Chapter 281. 281 Giant Eagle Mecha. Mo sure looked at the falling members of the Qing family with killing intent in his eyes. From the memories he plundered, he already knew the details of the Qing family in Yuzhou. 1 level, 1 desolate hunter and 17 level, 10 desolate hunters. In addition, there were more than 10 mechas on the surface, but in fact, there were a total of 20 mechas. Such strength in the eyes of others was very strong. But for the current Mo sure it was just SOSO. Not to mention other things, just the Sea Dragon Avatar, a level 3 mutated desolate beast, could crush the entire Qing family. After all, a level 3 mutated desolate beast was equivalent to a level 3 desolate hunter. The Qing family didn't even have a level 2 desolate hunter, let alone a level 3 one. However, with Mo sure's cautious personality, it was naturally impossible for him to casually decide the Qing family's strength. What if the Qing family had an unknown ancestor or something with the strength of a level 2 or even level 3 desolate hunter? So before going to the Qing family, he would first upgrade the Sea Dragon Avatar to a level 5 mutated desolate beast. Thinking of this, Mo sure signed in his mind. System, special events sign in. The system's voice came quickly as usual. Frowny face sign in successful. Sign in event. Destroy the Qing family's giant eagle mecha, kill the second young master of the Qing family. Sign in reward, giant eagle mecha, well not bad. Mo sure now understood the rules of the system's rewards. He had long expected that he would be rewarded with a giant eagle mecha. The giant eagle mecha might not be as good as other types of mechas in a one-on-one battle, but its flying and bombing abilities were definitely top-notch. Such a giant eagle mecha could carry out a full coverage carpet bombing within a radius of 15 kilometers. Its bombing ability was indeed exaggerated. Then, Mo sure came to the little monk's room. At this time, the little monk was looking at the debris on the ground in front of him. He had a grief-stricken expression. Seeing Mo sure come in, he shook his head and said, "Don't talk to me, I want to be alone. Jingjing was my desk mate in elementary school." Mo sure saw the little monk like this. Although he was still joking, his face was full of despair. Naturally, he understood his problem. The giant eagle mecha can't be repaired? The small monk shook his head. Boss, you're underestimating me too much. I can still barely repair this level of damage. However, after it was repaired, it would probably have less than 10% of its original combat strength. Their self-destruct system is too fucked up. Immortal's eyes flashed with surprise. He had always thought that this little monk was only talented in software. He didn't expect him to be so talented in hardware as well. After the mech self-destructed, it became a pile of scrap metal. But this guy could even repair such a pile of scrap metal. It was indeed a little exaggerated. However, a repaired one would still be an old one, and its performance would definitely be greatly reduced. As he thought of this, Immortal moved his mind and the giant eagle mecha that he had just received appeared outside the little monk's window. At the same time, the giant eagle mech's keyboard appeared in Immortal's hands. Immortal handed the keyboard to the small monk. Brand new. The small monk was stunned. Looking at the giant eagle mech outside the window, her eyes twinkled like little stars. F***ck boss, you're too awesome. Boss V5 boss is awesome. The small monk took the keyboard and exclaimed a series of exclamations. Then he strode outside the house and circled the giant eagle mech with a wingspan of 5 meters 3 times, stroking the body of the mech as he turned. It was as if he had seen a lover he hadn't seen for a few years. After more than 5 minutes, he turned his gaze to Immortal. He had a feeling that his boss seemed to have some kind of ability. Every time something attacked the base, his boss would quickly have the other party's weapon appear in his hands. No matter how advanced and difficult this weapon was to obtain, his boss would still get it. This was very magical. Immortal said to the small monk, "Familiarize yourself with this mech as soon as possible. There will be a lot of people coming to the base recently." Hearing this, the small monk's eyes lit up. "Okay boss, don't worry, I'll be familiar with it in 2 or 3 days. Immortal nodded. After handing the mech to the small monk, he left the small monk's residence. Next, the most important thing was to upgrade the sea dragon avatar to a level 5 mutant wild beast. The fastest way to upgrade the sea dragon avatar quickly was to let it devour a level 3 mutant wild beast. Where were the most level 3 mutant wild beasts? Without a doubt, it was the 12th and 13th hunting grounds. Immortal thought for a moment and decided to go directly to the 13th hunting ground. He had read some guides on the internet before. He knew that from the 10th hunting ground onwards, only hunters could survive in it. When he went to those hunting grounds, not only were there all kinds of monsters equivalent to hunters, but even the local aborigines were below the level of hunters. For example, in the 13th hunting ground, the strongest aborigines were. Their strength had already reached the level of level 3 hunters. Therefore, when he went there to train, he would face many kinds of pressure. However, Immortal had many trump cards. For him, this was nothing. After returning to his residence, he called wuxialover and said, "I'll be out for a few days. There will probably be people coming to the base to cause trouble. If the other party is below the level of a hunter, you don't have to do anything. If the other party is a level 1 hunter, just kill them." Wuxiao nodded. "Yes, Mr. Mo." In the base, there were 2 level 1 hunters and more than 20 giant eagle mechas. Therefore, even if the level 1 hunters of the Qing family came, they would not be afraid of him at all. After everything was done, he bid farewell to Happy. Immortal used Dragon Shadow Steps and teleported to the 13th hunting island. The 13th hunting island was millions of kilometers away from the first hunting island. Usually, such a long distance would be covered by using wormhole technology. However, the cost of using wormhole technology was higher. In addition, Immortal's strength had not reached the top level in the continent, so he did not want to leave too much information in the hands of outsiders. Moreover, his Dragon Shadow Steps could teleport him 100 kilometers away. Over 1,000,000 kilometers, that was only about 10,000 teleportations. At most, he would teleport for close to 3 hours. Therefore, Immortal's figure disappeared in an instant. When he reappeared, he was already hundreds of kilometers away. Then, with another teleport, he was already 200 kilometers away. This kind of traveling speed was truly a little too terrifying. Of course, using teleportation continuously consumed a lot of energy in his body. However, don't forget that the amount of energy in his body far exceeded that of hunters of the same level. In addition, he could drink recovery potions like they were drinks. Therefore, this kind of consumption was nothing. After nearly 3 hours, he finally landed on the 13th hunting island. The child is half a year old and goes to bed at 1 o'clock every night. I have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to write my story. Every day, including the lunch break, I only sleep for 6 hours. I don't have enough sleep, so from now on I will only be able to update twice a week. Chapter 282. Hunting Island number 13 was a steel island. The entire island was built with a large amount of steel in the sea. Of course, a man-made island was naturally not as big as Immortal's hunting island number 1. At the center of the island was the entrance to hunting ground number 13. On the entire continent, there were very few people who had reached the level of a desolate hunter. Not to mention those who could reach the level of a level 3 desolate hunter or above, which was even rarer. Therefore, there was almost no human traffic on hunting ground number 13. In the spacious hall, there was not even a shadow other than Immortal. Immortal scanned the surroundings with his dragon's will and found that there were about 30,000 people on hunting island number 13. Of course, these 10,000 people were all residents of the island. They made a living by mining crystal veins in the nearby sea. Immortal went to the self-service ticket terminal and bought a ticket. A ticket cost 130,000. However, Immortal was not short of money. Following the instructions from the computer, he entered the teleportation hall from the side door of the ticket hall. In the teleportation hall, there was a person waiting to be teleported. This was a man who looked to be in his 50s with a full beard. There was a chair at the side, but he did not sit. Instead, he sat cross-legged on the cold floor of the hall. In his arms, he was holding a long sword that was pitch black with occasional white fluorescent strips on it. It looked very high-tech. He was resting with his eyes closed. When he heard Immortal come in, he opened his eyes slightly. Immortal had only exchanged a glance with him when he felt an invisible sense of oppression. This kind of pressure didn't come from the other party's aura, nor did it come from energy. It was a natural pressure that came from the strong to the weak. Even if the other party did not have any malicious intent, this natural pressure still existed. This was enough to show that the bearded man's strength was far beyond Immortal's. Immortal was secretly surprised. He planned to secretly activate the blood dragon's eye to investigate this man. However, just as his eyes turned blood red, the man suddenly raised his head. The man suddenly lifted his eyelids. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he glared at Immortal. Immortal was shocked. This person could feel that he was probing his strength. Ever since Immortal possessed the blood dragon's eye, he had probed the strength of countless people. As long as he was careful and did not let the other party see him, then the other party would not know that he was probing their strength. Even if the other party was a powerful level 7 psychic master, he would not be able to detect it. And this person was actually able to easily sense that he was probing his strength. Then how strong was this person? It was obvious that he was much stronger than himself. Level 5 hunter? Level 6 hunter? Or even bolder, a level 10 desolate hunter. There were only a few people in the entire continent who had reached this level of strength. He didn't expect to meet one here. The man only spoke after the blood-red color in Immortal's eyes quickly receded. His voice was like a clap of thunder. "I'm not in a good mood. You'd better not provoke me." This voice seemed to resound in Immortal's heart. Immortal was secretly surprised. The strength of this person had far exceeded the strength of the creatures in the 13th hunting ground. Why would he waste his time coming to hunting ground 13? After saying that, the man no longer paid any attention to Immortal. Immortal frowned slightly. This man also wanted to go to the 13th hunting ground. Should he withdraw? Otherwise, if there was a conflict of interest between him and this man, he could easily kill him. Immortal could feel that all his trump cards were useless in front of this man. Even if there was no conflict of interest, as long as this man was in a bad mood and wanted to kill him, he would not be able to escape. Thinking of this, Immortal planned to get up and leave. But at this moment, the man spoke again. "Open the file transfer function of your multifunction watch." His voice was filled with an unquestionable command. Immortal had no choice but to do as he was told. He was really unlucky to have come to the 13th hunting ground, but he did not expect to meet such a strong existence. Soon, the man connected to Immortal's multifunction watch and sent a 3D image. From the image, it was a girl in her 20s. She was very beautiful. Although she was not as sexy as Emma, she was not as pure and lovely as Happy. But she looked even cuter than Emma and Happy. Immortal was puzzled. Giving his wife away as soon as he met her? How could this work? The man said, "If you see her in the 13th hunting ground, contact me immediately." As he spoke, he also sent the number of his multifunction watch. In this way, Immortal was in a bit of a difficult situation. It seemed that this man was going to the 13th hunting ground to find this girl. Could he refuse at this moment? If he refused, would this man slap him to death on the spot? But at this moment, the man's gaze was fixed on him. It made him feel as if he was facing a mountain. He could only nod. "Okay." After the man finished speaking, he no longer paid attention to him. He was still holding that extremely high-tech longsword and resting with his eyes closed. A moment later, the teleportation device was activated. Immortal and the man's figures turned into light spots and disappeared. When they reappeared, they were already at the top of a pyramid. This pyramid was the coordinates of the teleportation. At this moment, at the bottom of the pyramid, there were two local natives worshipping. Suddenly, they saw the two light spots that appeared gradually turned into human figures. These two people were immediately surprised. This is God's manifestation. God's manifestation. The two of them were shocked and pleasantly surprised. Beside Immortal, the bearded man didn't pay any attention to the two natives. His right hand pressed on the hilt of the sword. The long sword began to change shape with a crackling sound. In the end, it turned into a giant sword about 5 meters long and 1 foot wide. On one side of the blade of the giant sword, 2 rows of small holes for particle thrusters appeared. Behind the hilt of the giant sword, 2 particle thrusters as thick as thighs appeared. The next moment, light blue particle streams were ejected from the particle thrusters. The giant sword slowly rose with him. At the same time, 2 thick particle streams were ejected from the thick particle thrusters behind the hilt of the sword. The long sword instantly flew forward at high speed. Almost in the blink of an eye, it had already reached more than 10 kilometers away. 10 kilometers per second. This person's longsword was not only a weapon, but also an extremely fast aircraft. After that person left far away, Immortal secretly heaved a sigh of relief. When that person was beside him, the pressure was too strong. At this moment, the two below were worshipping Immortal with all their might. They were also saying some language that Immortal did not understand. The foreign language proficiency skill was only effective on the biological languages on Earth. It was useless for this alien language. However, there was an instant translation software in the multifunctional watch. He put on the micro-wireless headphones. The translated words came into his ears. God's manifestation is manifest. God's manifestation is manifest. Chapter 283. The two of them actually thought of him as a god. Immortal shook his head slowly. The eye of the blood dragon appeared and observed the strength of the two. The person on the left frowny face species, human, level 3 hunter. The person on the right frowny face species, human, level 3 hunter. Immortal felt like he was about to vomit blood. Could it be that everyone on this planet was a desolate hunter? As there were very few people who came to the 13th hunting ground, there were almost no guides to share on the internet. Immortal only knew that in the 13th hunting ground, the strongest creature was equivalent to a level 4 desolate hunter. However, he did not expect to see 2 level 3 hunters as soon as he arrived. This was King ridiculous. He used the dragons will plunder to plunder the memories of the two. From the memories of the two, he found some information that he wanted to know. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. It turned out that the strongest creatures in the 13th hunting ground were level 4 hunters. However, there were very few level 4 hunters. It was even a question whether there were any level 4 hunters. A level 3 desolate hunter was basically the strongest existence in a tribe. In the entire 13th hunting ground, there were less than 1,000 people who were above the level of hunters. However, other than these less than 1,000 level 3 hunters, there were countless zombies infected with the virus on this planet. These zombies were not as weak as the zombies on Earth. The strength of each of these zombies was equivalent to that of a dire beast. Hence, they were called dire corpses. As for the animals on this planet, they were not infected with the virus. The strongest ones were level 4 dire beasts, and the number of dire beasts was extremely large. As for how many there was no concept in the memories of the two people. Since it was so dangerous outside, Immortal naturally had to find a safe place to stay first. Immortal took a step from the top of the pyramid to the two people. Upon closer inspection, apart from being a little darker, these two people did not look any different from the Easterners on Earth. When the two people saw Immortal coming in front of them, they quickly prostrated themselves on the ground to worship him. Immortal said, "Get up. Get up, take me to your tribe." Of course, his words were also translated into the native language by the multifunctional watch. When the two heard this, they were overjoyed. He kowtowed repeatedly. Then he carefully led Immortal away from the pyramid. Following the path in the forest, they headed towards the tribe. On the small path in the forest, there would occasionally be a few desolate corpses. Their levels were not high. It looked like it was only level 7 to 8. Immortal knew that although desolate corpses could move around during the day, they were still able to move around during the day. But their favorite time was at night. Therefore, there were very few desolate corpses that came out during the day. Furthermore, they could not find any food at night and could only come out during the day. With a thought from Immortal, the Azure Dragon avatar appeared. Overall, it looked like a 20-meter-long crocodile. However, the scales on his body were much harder than those of a crocodile. Its claws were sharper than those of a crocodile. Its tail had a sharp blade, and its back had a triangular fin that was as sharp as a blade. The two men had never seen such a creature. He also saw that it had appeared out of thin air with a wave of the god's right hand. They thought that it was the god's beast. The two of them hurriedly prostrated themselves and worshipped the Azure Dragon avatar. Through the memories of these two people, Immortal already knew that on this planet, there was only one place with the most desolate beasts. That was the Starsbar Forest. Translated, it was the Forest of Death. In that forest there were many desolate beasts. There were also many mutated desolate beasts. Moreover, the Forest of Death was not too far from here. It was only about 300 kilometers away. Immortal used the bodies of those zombies to condense a virus avatar. He let the virus avatar bring the personal reservoir to the Forest of Death. Immortal's virus avatar could now reach a speed of 10 kilometers per second using the Dragon Shadow Step. In a short 30 seconds he arrived at the Forest of Death. At the edge of the Forest of Death, there were desolate beasts below mutated desolate beasts. They were not very beneficial to the Azure Dragon avatar. Therefore, Immortal let the Azure Dragon avatar continue to climb inside. As for why he did not let the virus avatar continue to bring the personal reservoir inside, that was because the virus clone had already died upon reaching this place. It was easily killed by a level 9 desolate beast. And that level 9 desolate beast was swallowed by the Azure Dragon avatar. After that, the Azure Dragon avatar used thousands of tentacles to swallow more than 500 desolate beasts nearby and continued to climb deeper into the forest. The desolate beasts in the periphery were not very beneficial to it. Therefore, it crawled into the depths of the forest at its fastest speed. When it crawled, its posture was very strange. Its upper body was 30 degrees away from the ground, and its two front legs did not touch the ground. Its two hind legs were like the pedals of a bicycle, constantly and quickly rotating to support the ground. This speed was much faster than crawling on four legs. The two front legs could also separate the trees and other obstacles in front of it. If it encountered a boulder or other obstacles, it could also jump up at its fastest speed. With this posture, its speed could reach more than 50 meters per second. This was much faster than ordinary reptiles. Of course, this was only a posture used when running for long distances. If it was a short distance sprint, it would use a leaping posture to advance. Just like a cheetah. It was just that its leaping distance was very long. Every step was 70 to 80 meters. It shuttled through this dark and gloomy forest. At the same time, Immortal had been taken to the Aboriginal tribe. This tribe of Aboriginals was located in a forest. In the center of this forest there was a large mountain peak. Every mountain peak rose from the ground and pierced into the clouds. Between these mountain peaks, there were suspension bridges connecting them. This Aboriginal tribe was on these mountain peaks. This was also to avoid the attacks of those desolate beasts. They had no choice but to do so. When they came to the bottom of the mountain peak, there was a guard at the top who lowered a rope. The people in the tribe basically had the strength of a scavenger. So as long as they were given a rope, they could quickly climb up along the rope. Of course, with Immortal's strength he did not need this at all. After the two Aborigines climbed up, he had already arrived in front of the two with the Dragon Shadow Step. When the other Aborigines around saw this scene, they were all shocked. The two indigenous people who had brought Immortal here immediately turned to the others and whispered something. Those people immediately bowed their heads to the ground and kowtowed. As they bowed, they said, "Greetings, God. Greetings, God. Lord God, I want to have a son. Lord God, I want to have a wife. Lord God, I want to be circumcised." Immortal, damn, you want me to be circumcised? This is too much. Chapter 284. The tribe that Immortal came to was called the Wakata tribe. When translated, it meant descendants of God tribe. The people in the tribe all felt that they were the descendants of God. Therefore, when they saw Immortal, they were all very excited. To them, it was as if they had seen their ancestors. Immortal opened his mouth for food and stretched out his hand for clothes. That night, Immortal was arranged to stay in the best stone house on the tallest mountain in the tribe. Immortal lay on the stone bed in the stone house. He used his dragon's will to explore the entire tribe while using the blood dragon's eye to observe the entire tribe. In the entire tribe, in addition to the 2 level 3 desolate hunters he had seen before, there were more than 10 level 2 desolate hunters and more than 100 level 1 desolate hunters. The rest of the people were basically level 8 and above. Even the 10-year-old children were level 5 desolate hunters. The strength of the entire tribe, if placed in the flaming origin continent, would definitely be a dominating existence. Everything in the tribe was good. It was safe and comfortable to stay here. Immortal had secretly decided that before the sea dragon clone advanced to a level 5 mutated desolate beast, he did not plan to leave. Therefore in the next few days Immortal walked here and there in the tribe. As long as he found a valuable place he would continue to sign in. He also obtained a lot of good things. Other than signing in, Immortal controlled the sea dragon clone to devour the mutated desolate beasts in the forest of death most of the time. He entered the depths of the forest of death. With a sweep of his dragon's will, he explored a radius of more than 100 kilometers clearly. Within this radius of more than 100 kilometers, there were many powerful mutated desolate beasts. Most of them were level 1 or level 2 mutated desolate beasts. Occasionally there would be level 3 mutated desolate beasts. These mutated desolate beasts all had their own territories. The entire 5-kilometer radius of the forest where Immortal was currently in was the territory of a level 3 desolate beast. Immortal did not care about this. He controlled the sea dragon clone and directly used thousands of tentacles to devour the level 1 desolate beasts nearby. The level 3 desolate beast in its normal form was only about 10 meters long. It looked like a giant elephant. However, there were dozens of spikes on its long nose. The 2 tusks were also longer and thicker. It realized that there were intruders in its territory. Suddenly, a gurgling sound came from his throat. One had to know that to a mutated desolate beast, its territory was its dignity. This outsider had casually entered its territory and slaughtered its prey in its territory. This was undoubtedly a challenge to its prestige. With a single step, it covered more than 50 meters in an instant. It didn't lurk quietly like it usually did. When dealing with foreign invaders, they had to give them the most fatal blow with lightning speed. Therefore it was almost rampaging. The trees and even the rocks in its way were easily crushed by it. His entire body, like a high-speed cannonball, crashed into the sea dragon clone. Seeing this, Immortal controlled the sea dragon clone. In an instant he made a 90-degree turn. His body went from perpendicular to the mutated desolate beast to parallel to it. At the same time the sea dragon clone's 7 to 8 meter long tail, with 3 sharp blades on 3 sides, fiercely whipped the level 3 wild beast. Bang, crack. It was accompanied by a heavy muffled sound. The mutated desolate beast's body immediately flew far away. Crack, 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 it broke several giant trees. The debris of the broken branches kept flying. A few of its ribs had already been broken. On the side of its body, there was a 3-meter-long bloody mark that had been cut by a sharp blade. The bloody mark was so deep that bone could be seen. However, the level 3 mutated desolate beast was not afraid at all. Instead, it was even angrier. Gurgling, snore, it made a strange roaring sound from its throat. Its entire body began to grow rapidly. However, at this moment, Immortal's sea dragon clone suddenly jumped and was once again more than 50 meters away from its side. Then it jumped again. 50 meters in an instant. It directly pounced to the side of the level 3 mutated desolate beast. It opened its mouth and bit down hard. One had to know that the sea dragon clone's mouth evolved from the long palate of a crocodile. Its bite force was quite astonishing. With this bite, it directly bit the waist of the level 3 mutated desolate beast. Crack. The bones of the level 3 mutated desolate beast's waist were directly bitten off. The level 3 mutated desolate beast that was transforming into its combat form suddenly lost its momentum. Its transforming body also quickly returned to its original form. Although desolate beasts and mutated desolate beasts could reach their peak strength after transforming into their combat form, they were 10 times or even dozens of times stronger than their normal state. But there was a weakness, and that was that the transformation process could not be disturbed. Of course, during the transformation process, level 3 mutated desolate beasts also had a thin layer of energy protection on the surface of their bodies to ensure that their transformation was smooth. Don't underestimate this thin layer of energy protection. Its defensive power could safely withstand the energy attacks of opponents of the same level. However, this time, this level 3 mutated desolate beast's layer of energy defense was easily bitten apart. Ordinary mutated desolate beasts almost didn't use energy in battle. After all, they were beasts and their intelligence was limited. In their opinion, their claws and teeth were their strongest weapons and they were easy to use. They were much easier to use than energy. And Immortal, as a human, also used human thinking when controlling the sea dragon avatar to fight. In his opinion, if he didn't use such powerful energy, wouldn't he be a fool? So every attack of Immortal's was actually accompanied by energy. That level 3 mutated desolate beast naturally couldn't withstand it. Next, Immortal controlled the sea dragon avatar to directly open its huge mouth and swallow that level 3 mutated desolate beast bite by bite. That level 3 mutated desolate beast saw that the back half of its body was about to be eaten up. This made it feel a sense of powerlessness and fear in its heart. In this extreme powerlessness and fear, it roared to the sky. Ayo, Yigi, Lulu 2. Following its roar, Immortal's dragon consciousness detected that all level 2 and level 3 desolate beasts within a radius of 100 kilometers were stunned. Then they put down what they were doing and rushed over at an extremely fast speed. Seeing this, Immortal sneered. Trying to scare people, huh? I'm not afraid that you won't come, but I'm afraid that you'll send people. Thinking of this, Immortal quickly swallowed the level 3 mutated desolate beast in a few big mouthfuls. He felt that the energy in his body had obviously increased by a lot. His dragon consciousness probed the level 3 mutated desolate beasts that were constantly rushing over. The corners of Immortal's mouth curled up into a faint smile. I'm not afraid that you'll come, but I'm afraid that you won't dare to come, and I'm even more afraid that you won't come enough. Chapter 285. Immortal detected that under the summons of this level 3 mutated desolate beast before it died, there were as many as 30 level 3 mutated desolate beasts within a radius of 100 kilometers, all rushing towards this side. He was instantly delighted. After swallowing this level 3 mutated desolate beast, he laid down on a cold boulder to rest comfortably. The temperature in the forest of death was not low. With such a cold boulder to lie down on to cool down, it was really a very pleasant thing. The level 3 mutated desolate beasts were not considered slow. The slowest one could leap 30 to 40 meters per second. Not long after, those level 3 mutated desolate beasts had already arrived in front of him. They formed an encirclement around Immortal. These level 3 mutated desolate beasts seemed to be the same species as the level 3 mutated desolate beast from before. They looked similar to the level 3 mutated desolate beast from before. They should be its 7 aunts, 8 aunts, brothers, sisters, sisters-in-law, cousins, and so on. They opened their huge mouths one by one, revealing sharp fangs. At the same time, their front 2 sharp claws were constantly digging into the ground. They appeared to be angry and anxious. At some point they seemed to have received some kind of order. At the same time, they pounced towards Immortal's sea dragon clone. Immortal's dragon will moved. The current sea dragon clone was already able to withstand level 4 dragon will. The level 4 dragon will suddenly spread out, directly attacking the heads of these level 3 mutated desolate beasts. However, these level 3 mutated desolate beasts were equivalent to level 3 desolate hunters. Immortal's level 4 dragon will naturally could not do anything to them. At most, they would be slightly startled and stunned for a moment. However, this was exactly what Immortal wanted. Just as they were in a daze. On the surface of the sea dragon clone's body, a total of 50 tentacles suddenly spread out. They were sucking towards the surface of these level 3 mutated desolate beasts. When these mutated desolate beasts came back to their senses, their bodies had already been sucked in by a huge suction cup. The energy in the energy bubbles in their bodies was involuntarily sucked into the suction cup. At the same time, their blood was also being sucked in. Gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. It could be seen that on the 50 tentacles, there was clearly something constantly moving into the sea dragon clone's body. These grade 3 mutated desolate beasts could feel their energy and blood draining away. It immediately tried to control 6 claws in fear, shaking its head in an attempt to free itself from the suction cup. But it was clear that their efforts ended in failure. In just 5 minutes, the bodies of these level 3 mutated desolate beasts had turned into dried corpses of skin and bones. There was not a single drop of blood inside, nor a single trace of energy. At the same time, Immortal could feel the energy in his body increasing rapidly. He could clearly feel that after another 5 or 6 waves of this, he would be able to advance to level 4. After devouring these level 3 mutated desolate beasts, he continued to search for level 3 mutated desolate beasts within a radius of a few hundred kilometers. Of course, in the process of searching, if he encountered a level 2 mutated desolate beast, he would also devour it. Although the effects of a level 2 mutated desolate beast were not as obvious as a level 3 mutated desolate beast, he still understood the principle of many a little makes an ocean. Finally, at noon the next day, after devouring another wave of more than 30 level 3 mutant wild beasts, waves of muscle-tearing pain came from the sea dragon avatar's body. Immortal quickly shifted his consciousness back into his body. You can bear the pain alone and share the joy together. Half an hour later, the sea dragon avatar's advancement was estimated to have been completed. Emoshur's consciousness once again returned to the sea dragon avatar's body. At this time, looking at the sea dragon avatar again, it was actually a little smaller than the previous 20 meters. It was only 15 meters long. Emoshur couldn't help but be stunned. He quickly looked at the sea dragon avatar's level. Species, sea dragon. Level, level 4 mutated desolate beast. Ability, evolution by devouring. Emoshur frowned slightly when he saw this. Shouldn't a promotion be bigger? Why did this guy's size not increase but decrease after the promotion? What the F***ck? In fact, Emoshur didn't know that for normal desolate beasts, the stronger they were, the bigger they would be. Even in a normal state their size would increase. But on this zombie planet, due to the environment, these mutated desolate beasts had learned to pretend to be weak. Often the stronger they were, the smaller they were. Because they were smaller, their speed would increase a lot. And it consumed less energy. At this time, after the sea dragon avatar devoured the mutated desolate beast here, it also had the genes of those mutated desolate beasts in its body. These genes had transformed the sea dragon avatar's body. As a result, it also had the attribute that the stronger it was, the smaller it would be. Fortunately, Emoshur saw that the sea dragon avatar's level had increased by 1 level, which made him confirm that the sea dragon avatar was indeed getting stronger and stronger. Only then did he feel slightly relieved. According to his estimation, as long as he stayed in this forest of death for another 25 or 26 days, the strength of the sea dragon avatar should be improved again. Night. In the forest of death, it was even darker than during the day. It was so dark that one couldn't even see their own claws. Emoshur controlled the 15-meter-long sea dragon avatar and leaped forward in the night. At the same time, he used his dragon consciousness to explore the surroundings. After a few days of hunting, there were no level 3 mutated desolate beasts nearby. Emoshur wasn't surprised by this. Originally, the peak combat power on this planet was a level 4 mutated desolate beast. Although a level 3 mutated desolate beast hadn't reached the peak, it was still considered a top combat power. Naturally, there couldn't be too many of them. After running for more than 20 minutes, Emoshur finally detected that there were 5 level 3 mutated desolate beasts more than 100 kilometers ahead. Mutated desolate beasts generally moved alone. But at this time, these 5 mutated desolate beasts were moving in a group, which made Emoshur feel a little strange. Of course, he didn't know much about the species on this planet. Among so many animals, it wasn't strange that there were social animals. In short, there were 5 level 3 mutated desolate beasts for him to devour, so he naturally couldn't let them go. After a few more minutes, Emoshur had arrived at a place not far from where the mutated desolate beasts were. As usual, he used his dragon consciousness to carefully explore the surroundings 3 times. When there was no danger, he quietly crept toward the mutated desolate beasts. A moment later, he arrived behind the 5 level 3 mutated desolate beasts. This was by a river overgrown with trees. The river wasn't rushing. There were more than a dozen trees of various sizes growing in the river. The 5 level 3 mutated desolate beasts were drinking water by the river bank. Emoshur quietly crept behind one of the level 3 mutated desolate beasts, just as he was about to extend his tentacles. But at this moment, one of the level 3 mutated desolate beasts seemed to have discovered him. It quickly roared, "Ka ka ka," to warn the other level 3 mutated desolate beasts. Then with a splash it jumped into the river and fled. Chapter 286. The level 3 mutant wild beast seemed to have discovered Emoshur. After letting out a warning roar to its companions, it jumped into the river with a plop. Swaying its limbs, it quickly swam towards the other side of the river. Seeing this, the other level 3 mutant wild beasts also cried out in alarm and jumped into the river. Emoshur's tentacles could only reach out 50 meters at the moment. It was still a little short. He shook his head helplessly. Since I can't resist, I might as well lie down and enjoy it. There's no need to struggle. As he spoke, he came to the shore and also jumped into the river with a plop. He chased after the 5 level 3 mutant wild beasts. This river was very wide, about 200 meters wide. The terrain in the river was complicated, with all kinds of trees of various sizes and many aquatic plants. However, the sea dragon clone was born in the water, so it was no stranger to fighting in the water. It quickly bypassed the branches, aquatic plants, and stones. It chased after the 5 level 3 mutant wild beasts. In just over 10 seconds he had caught up to them and was within reach of them. With a thought, more than 50 tentacles stretched out from his body. However, at this moment he suddenly felt that there seemed to be something under his body. In the next moment that thing quickly wrapped around Emoshur's body. Emoshur immediately knew that something was wrong. Damn it, I've been tricked. In just an instant, Emoshur realized that the 5 level 3 mutant wild beasts were actually luring him on the shore. After luring him into the water, the creatures hidden underwater could sneak up on him. At the same time, he was very curious. The water here was not deep, only about 5 meters deep. Logically speaking, his dragons should be able to easily detect the creatures inside. Just now, he had also probed 3 times and clearly detected the creatures in the water. He knew that even if there were some mutant wild beasts here, they were only level 1. They would not pose any threat to him. But at this moment when he probed just now, he did not detect this creature at all. This was the first time in his life that something could avoid the detection of his dragon's will. And the strangest thing was that that thing had already begun to wrap around his body. His dragon's will could not detect it at all. Damn it, what the hell is this? Emoshur cursed in his heart. Then it raised its long tail and propped itself up on the bottom of the river. At the same time, his long mouth also curled up and began to support the bottom of the river. Then he quickly flipped his body. Plop, plop, plop. He flipped 3 times in an instant. That thing obviously didn't expect this strange little thing to be so agile and powerful when it flipped over. Emoshur immediately broke free from the entanglement. Naturally, it did not know that this was the roll of death. On Earth, the most terrifying move of the crocodiles was the death roll. As long as it bit down on the arm, a death roll would be able to remove an adult's arm. From this, one could see how powerful it was when it rolled. However, Emoshur's death roll wasn't used to attack, but to escape. After breaking free, he quickly swam to the shore. But at this moment, that thing once again wrapped itself around Emoshur's body. Emoshur hurriedly used death roll again. Plop plop, he rolled 5 times in a row. Not only did he break free from that thing, but he also rolled ashore. As soon as they reached the shore, Emoshur suddenly jumped up. He jumped onto a giant tree with a diameter of more than 5 meters not far away. At this moment, that thing also climbed ashore. It was only now that Emoshur saw it clearly. This thing should be a giant python. However, the giant pythons of this world seemed to be different from the giant pythons on Earth. There were no scales on its body. It looked meaty. And through the grayish-white skin, one could also see the pale green blood vessels under its skin. This thing was about half a meter in diameter. Its exposed body seemed to be about 30 meters long. And this giant python didn't have a head. It didn't have eyes, mouth, nostrils, or anything like that. Emoshur was secretly puzzled. He used Dragon's Will to investigate again. But he found that Dragon's Will was still unable to detect the existence of this thing. And the strange thing was that after its body appeared, it began to change rapidly. The color of its body turned the same green as its surroundings. The strangest thing was that it wasn't just the color that changed. Even its form changed. Its skin began to change continuously and some wrinkles appeared. And it also turned greenish-black. From time to time, green furry things appeared on it. A moment later, it looked like a tree that had just fallen down. And the furry green things on its body were obviously imitating the moss on the tree trunk. F***ck, not only did this fellow's color blend into its surroundings, even its form was imitating its surroundings. And it was imitating it perfectly. If Emoshur hadn't seen this fellow's change with his own eyes, he would definitely have thought that it was a real tree that had just fallen. At this moment he finally understood that this fellow definitely had top-notch disguise skills. He used the blood dragon's eye to look. Species, ever-changing octopus. Level 4 mutated desolate beast. Talent, disguise concealment. Seeing this, Emoshur finally understood. This was a mutated desolate beast that had awakened its talent. The talent of disguise concealment could avoid any spiritual detection. And if it disguised itself, even if it was close, it would be difficult to detect it with the naked eye. This made Emoshur very envious. If he killed this thing, would he be able to sign in and obtain such a talent? Thinking of this, his dragon will moved and tore towards this thing. Of course, this thing's body was extremely strong, and it was impossible for the dragon will to tear it apart. But Emoshur did this just to use the dragon will to attract its attention. And it jumped down from the tree. Using the momentum of its descent, its tail was like a sharp long knife as it slashed towards that thing. Pooh! The slash of its tail left a bloody wound about a foot deep on the surface of that thing's body. Roar! A roar suddenly came from the middle of the river. Then more than 10 similar big snakes quickly climbed up from the river beside it. They surrounded the sea dragon doppelganger. Of course, Emoshur already knew that this was not a big snake, nor was it a giant python. It was the tentacles of the ever-changing octopus. These tentacles were like giant pythons half a meter in diameter, surrounding Emoshur in a fan shape. Seeing this, Emo directly activated his battle form. Cracking sounds kept coming from his body. Accompanied by these cracking sounds, the body of the sea dragon clone was rapidly growing. In just 20 seconds, the body of the sea dragon clone had reached a length of more than 400 meters. At the same time, its claws and teeth, including the tail behind it, were covered with a layer of blood-red energy. During battle, attaching energy to their weapons was the strongest combat form that a desolate beast should have. Chapter 287. Emo controlled the body of the sea dragon clone and quickly transformed it into battle form. As a level 4 mutated wild beast, the body of the sea dragon clone had already reached a length of 400 meters. Under Emo control, its claws, fangs and tail were all covered in a layer of blood-red energy. With the addition of energy, the sharpness of these weapons would be greatly enhanced. At this moment, the true face of the ever-changing octopus was revealed. Its head popped out of the river. Its head was similar to that of an ordinary octopus. It was just that its entire body was grayish-white. Under the grayish-white skin, there were green blood vessels everywhere. It actually had more than 50 tentacles. Each of them was over 400 meters long. And if necessary, these tentacles could continue to extend. Emo felt a lingering fear. Fortunately, he reacted quickly just now. If he had been a little slower, he might not have been able to escape from being surrounded by so many tentacles. At this moment, more than 20 huge tentacles had already surrounded Emo sneered. A bolt of lightning instantly covered the surface of his body. It formed an electric net. As Emo became more familiar with the electric current, his control over the lightning also became stronger. He could already control the electric current and form an electric net on the surface of his body for defense. The tentacles couldn't be retracted in time and directly touched the electric net. The tentacles quickly retracted. Although it wasn't enough to electrocute it to death with one strike, Emo's electric shock this time had been enhanced with energy. The octopus was stunned by the electric shock. Emo took the opportunity to leap. He pounced towards the octopus's head. His sharp claws were infused with energy as he slashed at the octopus's head. The octopus subconsciously raised two thick tentacles to block. Swish, swish, with two soft sounds the two thick claws were cut off and fell to the ground. The 10,000 steps octopus roared in pain. Aowo, say. At the same time its other tentacles also attacked the sea dragon clone. However, the sea dragon clone's body was covered with a layer of electric net. As soon as the octopus's tentacles touched the electric net, they were once again electrocuted until they kept buzzing. The octopus hurriedly wanted to shrink its head into the water. Its strength lay in its concealment. It could hide its body and then launch a surprise attack when the enemy was caught off guard. Killing with one blow. This was its forte. It wasn't good at fighting the enemy face to face. As long as it entered the water, it could hide again. At that time, it would be difficult for the enemy to find it again. At this moment, of course, Emo was deeply aware of this. He snorted. Want to escape? He controlled the sea dragon clone and jumped into the river. His body continued to release electric currents. Hiss, with the sea dragon clone's current energy. The released electric current immediately covered the entire river. Hiss hiss, hiss, hiss. One could see with the naked eye that streaks of electric current were slithering about on the surface of the river like little snakes. The octopus could no longer hide. Electricity kept flowing through his body. Many of its tentacles were already smokeless at the same time. The sea dragon clone also stretched out its tentacles. It directly wrapped around the octopus's tentacles. The suction cup was directly attached to the other party's suction cup. A blood-red tentacle stretched out from the suction cup. Gurgle gurgle, it was constantly absorbing the blood and energy in the octopus's body. At this moment, the octopus seemed to be unable to hold it in any longer and opened its mouth. Boom, a thick energy beam about 5 meters in diameter shot fiercely at Emo's sea dragon clone. The sea dragon clone couldn't dodge in time. Its two hind legs were directly cut off by the energy beam. The octopus opened its mouth again and was about to spit out another energy beam. Emo hurriedly used his dragon will to attack the octopus's brain. This octopus was equivalent to being close to a major realm higher than Emo. Emo's dragon will naturally couldn't affect its body. However, when Emo concentrated all of his dragon will to attack its brain, the dragon will was unable to do anything. Its brain also felt a sharp stabbing pain. Roar, under the intense pain this guy let out a shocking roar. While it was roaring, Emo controlled the sea dragon clone and blasted a beam of energy directly at its energy bubble. Chi, although this energy wasn't thick, it directly blasted open the energy shield on the surface of its body, and shattered the energy bubble in its abdomen. Immediately, a large amount of energy poured out. Without the support of energy, the octopus immediately screamed and fell into the water. Immortal ignored the pain in his body and controlled the sea dragon clone to bombard it with energy again. Boom! Under the bombardment of energy, the octopus's head was directly pierced through. Finally, the dozens of tentacles on this 400-meter-long behemoth's body, after crazily rolling and twisting, stopped moving. Phew! Immortal heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. This guy wasn't very strong in combat, but it was very difficult to deal with. With dozens of tentacles on its body, if he wasn't careful, he would be attacked by its tentacles. Then, Immortal gave the sea dragon clone a dozen bottles of recovery medicine. The incomplete parts of the sea dragon clone's body began to recover at a speed visible to the naked eye. On the other side of the river, the 5 level 3 mutant wild beasts saw that this strange wild beast was so strong, and hurriedly turned their heads and fled deeper into the forest without looking back. However, would Immortal let them go at this time? The answer was obviously impossible. After the 2 hind legs and tail grew back, he controlled the sea dragon clone and jumped into the water with a splash. At an extremely fast speed, he swam towards the other side of the river. Soon he climbed to the other side. Then he quickly jumped over. The 5 level 3 mutant wild beasts were much slower than Immortal. Within 10 minutes, Immortal finished off all 5 level 3 mutant wild beasts. After swallowing the corpses of these mutant wild beasts, Immortal signed in his mind, "System, sign in for a special event." The system, like a boy in love, replied instantly after seeing his girlfriend's message. Frowny face, sign in successful. Sign in event, killed the mutant wild beast ever-changing octopus. Sign in reward, concealment. Immortal nodded. It was indeed this skill. He carefully looked at the skill description in his mind. Concealment, both the sea dragon clone and the main body can use it. When the skill is activated, it can change the color and shape of the body, simulating the color and shape of the surrounding environment. And when using the concealment skill, it can avoid any spiritual, thermal, infrared, and other detection. Awesome. Immortal was overjoyed. In front of this skill, any technological means and spiritual detection would be completely ineffective. With this skill, even his main body could walk around this dangerous planet at will. Of course, with Immortal's caution, he wouldn't do this casually. Chapter 288. After acquiring the camouflage concealment skill, Immortal continued to devour more than 50 level 3 mutant wild beasts. However, for the sea dragon clone, which had been promoted to a level 4 mutant wild beast, the effect of devouring these level 3 mutant wild beasts was not as obvious as before. If he wanted to devour and evolve quickly now, he had to devour level 4 mutant wild beast. However, level 4 mutant wild beasts were the most powerful existences on this planet. Naturally, there were not that many of them. After devouring for about 2 hours, he finally detected a mutated wild beast that looked like a spider but had 2 horns and a long tail about 200 kilometers away. Species, double-horned snake-tailed spider. Level 4 mutant wild beast. Talent, ultrasonic attack. Immortal immediately took a step forward and ran toward the double-horned snake-tailed spider. When he was 5 kilometers away from the double-horned snake-tailed spider, Immortal activated the camouflage concealment skill. The entire body of the sea dragon clone began to change color. It changed from black to the same green as the surrounding environment. At the same time, its limbs gradually turned into the same shape as the dried branches around it. From the outside, it looked exactly like 4 branches. Its tail also turned into the shape of a long branch. Its torso turned into the shape of a decaying tree trunk. Overall, the sea dragon clone looked like a decaying tree that had fallen many years ago. If one looked at it with the naked eye, even if it was close, one would not be able to tell the difference. Immortal quietly moved forward. Not long after, he approached the double-horned snake-tailed spider. The double-horned snake-tailed spider originally had spider senses. Once danger approached, the fur on the surface of its body would suddenly stand on end. The double-horned snake-tailed spider could use this to foresee danger and quickly leave. But the camouflage concealment skill was abnormal in this aspect. It could not be detected by any senses. Even if it was just a 6th sense like spider senses, the camouflage concealment would completely evade it. Therefore, when Immortal was only about 5 meters away from the double-horned snake-tailed spider, it did not feel any danger. It was still happily weaving its web trying to catch some prey. This distance was enough for Immortal to launch an attack. Immortal did not rashly launch an attack. Instead, he moved slowly in the shadows. They arrived at the path of the twin-horned snake-tailed spider. When the twin-horned snake-tailed spider crawled over with a thin strand of spider silk on its tail, only then did Immortal suddenly explode. His teeth carried a huge amount of energy as he bit down on the head of the twin-horned snake-tailed spider. That twin-horned snake-tailed spider was too confident in its spider senses and didn't expect danger to be right in front of it. Therefore there was no time to react. Poof! Under the terrifying bite force of the sea dragon clone, the double-horned snake-tailed spider's head exploded. The poison that it was so proud of and its ultrasonic attack skill did not have time to use it all. Puff 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 puff. As the sea dragon clone swallowed, the double-horned snake-tailed spider's body quickly shrank. In the end, it was completely devoured by the sea dragon clone. The energy in his body had increased by a few notches. Speaking of which, this camouflage skill was really useful. If he didn't have this skill, Immortal would have to spend a little more effort to fight a few rounds with the twin-horned snake-tailed spider. Now that he had this skill, he could sneak up on them and insta-kill them. This skill was completely made for assassination. Next, Immortal used the skill to assassinate more than 30 level 4 mutated desolate beasts. None of these 30 mutated desolate beasts could see through the sea dragon clone's camouflage. However, there weren't many level 4 mutated desolate beasts in the Forest of Death. Immortal spent another 2 days and only swallowed more than 50 level 4 mutated desolate beasts. After that, he couldn't find even one level 4 mutated desolate beast. This made him a little depressed. The Forest of Death didn't live up to its name. It seemed that he could only go to other places to look for level 4 mutated desolate beasts or level 4 mutated desolate corpses. Another 2 days later, when Immortal was chasing a level 4 mutated desolate corpse, he came to a city on a plain. From afar, this city looked like a huge stone beast, entrenched between the blue sky and green grass. Immortal plundered the memories of a few guards at the city gate. From these memories, Immortal knew that the tribes in this city didn't worship gods. They worshipped desolate corpses. The reason was that they had worshipped gods for thousands of years, but no gods had helped them exorcise the mutated desolate beasts and desolate corpses. Instead, the number of desolate corpses increased. And the desolate corpses seemed to be unkillable no matter how hard they tried. So later they turned to worshipping these desolate corpses. This sounded strange logically, but it was the truth. They were obsessed with the desolate corpses that occupied almost half of the planet. They worshipped their strength, their numbers, and their almost unlimited lifespan. So almost every year they would select a batch of humans and offer them to the desolate corpses. They hoped that the desolate corpses would bless them and keep them safe this year. On the contrary, outsiders like Immortal were likely to be offered to the desolate corpses. And the level 4 mutated desolate corpse just now had entered this city. Immortal shook his head slightly. These humans were already in cahoots with the desolate corpses. There were really all kinds of strange things. If it was in the past, Immortal would have retreated. It was not worth risking his life for a level 4 mutated desolate corpse. But now, Immortal had just obtained the concealment and camouflage skill, so he naturally wanted to try it out. Thinking of this, his body began to slowly change. The color was almost the same as the surrounding grass. The shape of his entire body also changed. Green hair grew on his limbs and the surface of his body. It was like strands of green grass. As a whole, the sea dragon clone looked like an inconspicuous protrusion in the middle of a grassland. His body was covered with weeds just like the rest of the body. With this disguise, Immortal lay on the roadside outside the city gate. Humans passed by this roadside from time to time. They talked, laughed, and joked around. They did not notice at all that there was a monster hiding on the road a few meters away from them. But in the afternoon, just as the sun was about to set, Immortal experienced a crisis. A group of aborigines was returning to the city when they passed by Immortal. One of the aborigines left the group and came to Immortal's side. He directly tore open his pants, revealed his small penis, and began to pee. Hearing the pee sound close by, Immortal had some lingering fear. Damn it, it was less than a meter away. It seemed that he had to be careful when choosing a hiding place in the future. Otherwise he would be peed all over if he was not careful. Chapter 289. Gradually the sky darkened. The number of desolate corpses around also increased. Immortal even saw that some of the desolate corpses directly walked out of the city. Could it be that in this city, these desolate corpses had already begun to coexist with humans? This was the same as zombies and humans coexisting in the same city on Earth. It was inconceivable. When the last ray of light completely disappeared from the west, Immortal began to move. He controlled the sea dragon avatar. His body was almost touching the grass as he moved forward quickly. Soon he arrived at the city gate. The city gate was not closed at this time. As there were desolate corpses coming in and out, this city gate was basically open all day. Of course, Immortal did not go through the city gate. Instead, he climbed up along the wall on one side of the city gate. In order to resist the desolate beasts, the city wall here was built very high. It was more than 50 meters high. But for Immortal, who had 4 claws, this was not a problem at all. He climbed up the city wall and quickly passed between 2 soldiers. He jumped into the city wall. At this time he used the dragon mind to explore the surroundings. He discovered that not all desolate corpses and humans lived in this city. After entering the city gate there was a tunnel. During the day humans entered and exited from the tunnel above. At night, the desolate corpses entered and exited from the tunnel directly. Through the memories he plundered, Immortal knew that these desolate corpses actually lived underground. After entering this tunnel, he would enter the nest of the desolate corpses after going down for another 50 meters. And the nest below extended in all directions. It led to many places outside the city. Immortal did not enter here rashly. Instead, he moved stealthily in the city while plundering the memories of those people to find the information he needed. More than half an hour later, he made a shocking discovery when he was searching the memories of the tribe leader. From the tribe leader's memories, Immortal knew that they had captured a few outsiders more than 20 days ago. They wanted to offer these outsiders to the desolate corpses. And among these outsiders, there was a woman who looked exactly the same as the photo of the girl that Immortal met in the 13th Hunting Islands teleportation hall. Immortal could not help but be moved. She couldn't be the daughter of that expert, right? Should he contact that expert? After a while, Immortal made up his mind. That expert didn't seem to have any ill intentions. Moreover, that person's strength was so strong. There shouldn't be any harm in making friends with him. Of course, for such a powerhouse, the information provided must be accurate. Otherwise, if that fella destroyed him out of anger, then wouldn't Huang be wronged? So he continued to search through the memories of the people in the tribe. With the current strength of his telekinesis, robbing these people's memories would not cause any negative effects to him. More than an hour later, he had gone through the memories of some senior officers in the tribe. Then, they compared the information with each other and confirmed the real information. That girl was indeed captured and offered to those desolate corpses. Immortal was slightly taken aback. If that girl died, would that expert destroy the entire 13th hunting ground in a fit of rage? Following that, he plundered some of the desolate corpses' memories. From their memories, Immortal once again obtained information about the girl. It turned out that after that girl was brought into the desolate corpse lair, she was not directly eaten. Instead, she was locked up. Because even according to the aesthetics of these desolate corpses, they felt that the girl was very beautiful. These desolate corpses felt that the more beautiful a human was, the more delicious they were. After a while, the boss of the desolate corpses would come for an inspection. Naturally, they would leave this delicacy for their boss to enjoy. Immortal plundered the memories of more than 10 desolate corpses in a row and finally confirmed that this information was true. He pondered for a moment and had an idea in his mind. With a thought, he returned to his main body. Looking at the time, it was 9:15 at night. He immediately turned on his multifunctional watch and dialed the expert's number. There was only one word from the other side: speak. Immortal replied, "I found your daughter." The unchanging voice on the other side finally became slightly hurried. "Where is she?" Immortal recalled the name of the city and replied, "That's right. Bombadera City in the underground desolate corpse lair. The humans in that city offered your daughter to the desolate corpses. The desolate corpses kept her and planned to wait a few days for the desolate corpse king to come for an inspection and offer your daughter to the desolate corpse king to enjoy." Hearing this, the other side was silent for a moment. Not a word was said. He directly hung up the phone. Immortal shook his head slightly. "I helped you so much, but you didn't even thank me. How rude." After that, Immortal didn't take any more action. Instead, he waited for the expert to save his daughter. When the time came, it would probably be chaos. There would definitely be level 4 desolate corpses escaping. He waited for an entire night. It wasn't until 9 o'clock the next morning that Immortal saw a figure approaching at an extremely fast speed from the distant horizon through the sea dragon clone's perspective. This figure was standing on a long sword that was about 5 meters long and 2 feet wide. It looked very high-tech. Behind the long sword, 2 streams of particles were ejected. He was moving at a speed of almost 10 kilometers per second as he sped towards them. Flying on a sword. Immortal couldn't help but feel envious. Although compared to his dragon shadow step, the speed of flying on a sword was still too slow. But he had to admit that flying on a sword did look high-end and classy. This was much cooler than flying on a hoverboard. Soon the expert arrived in the sky above the city. When the people in the tribe saw this expert standing in the air, their expressions changed slightly. Especially the leader of the tribe. When he saw this outsider standing in the air, he panicked a little. But although he panicked, he didn't panic. Because he knew that there were almost countless desolate corpses in the nest of desolate corpses below the city. Although this outsider was strong, could he be compared with a large number of desolate corpses? Thinking of this, the leader of the tribe raised his head proudly and looked at the outsider in the sky. He shouted coldly, "Flying is forbidden in the tribe. Especially forbidden for outsiders to fly. Land immediately and hand over your aircraft." In the sky, the expert didn't pay attention to the leader of the tribe at all. Instead, he landed directly and came to the entrance of the tunnel in the city. Seeing that his words were ignored, the leader of the tribe was a little annoyed. As the leader of the tribe, didn't he care about his reputation? Thinking of this, he waved his hand, "Catch him for me." "Yes, leader." The men in the tribe hurriedly responded when they heard the leader's order. Then, with spears and other weapons in their hands, they quickly went to the tunnel at the entrance of the city gate. Chapter 290. Immortal saw that these people in the tribe actually wanted to catch the strong swordsman. He couldn't help but find it a little funny. These people really weren't afraid of death. At this moment, the strong swordsman lowered his head to observe and found the location of the tunnel. Then he put away his long sword and landed beside the tunnel. At the same time, hundreds of humans had already surrounded him. And the leader of the tribe obviously knew that this person was not to be trifled with, so the hundreds of people he sent were all desolate hunters. A level 4 desolate hunter and more than 10 level 3 desolate hunters. More than 20 level 2 desolate hunters. More than 60 level 1 desolate hunters. If such a lineup was placed in the Flaming Land, it would definitely be a godly lineup. With such a lineup, not to mention Yuzhou province, even across the entire continent, they could be ranked at the top. However, the strong swordsman only glanced at them. He snorted coldly. The long sword in his left hand didn't even move. He waved his right hand in the air. A blue energy more than 10 meters wide suddenly spread out in all directions. It was so fast that these people couldn't dodge at all. Swish, 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 swish. More than 100 desolate hunters were all cut in half at almost the same time. Their protective energy and all kinds of trump cards were a complete joke in front of the strong swordsman. And that wasn't all. Under this energy, all the buildings in the entire city, including the huge 30-meter thick city wall, were directly cut in half. The attack of a strong swordsman was actually so terrifying. Immortal suddenly felt a chill down his spine. With a casual wave of his hand, he actually cut the entire city in half. And more than 100 desolate hunters were wiped out. This kind of strength was really unparalleled. Fortunately, his sea dragon clone was lying on the ground. Otherwise, his sea dragon clone would have been cut in half by the attack just now. After the strong swordsman's attack, he didn't even look at these people. He strode into the tunnel. There was no trace of killing intent on his face. There was no trace of killing intent in his eyes. But with a casual wave of his hand, he almost wiped out the entire tribe. Just how strong was he? Judging from Immortal's current experience, this person's strength was probably infinitely close to the peak of the desolate hunters. In other words, he was very likely a level 10 desolate hunter. Was a level 10 desolate hunter so terrifying? Immortal originally wanted to control the sea dragon clone to follow the sword riding expert all the way underground. But after thinking about it, he decided against it. At this moment, his main body was still very far away. That expert didn't know that the sea dragon clone belonged to him. What if something went wrong and a beam of energy came flying over? Wouldn't that be too unjust for him? Therefore, he just needed to wait here. After waiting for about 5 minutes, there was still no movement from underground. On the contrary, in the riverside outside the city, in the tree holes, in the caves, many powerful desolate corpses suddenly appeared. Immortal was overjoyed. It seemed like that expert was simply too strong. These guys were terrified. Using the blood dragon's eye, he quickly found a fleeing desolate corpse. Then he took a step forward and crashed through the city gate, running out of the city walls. At this moment, the entire city was in chaos. The guards at the city gate had also been cut in half by the mysterious expert's energy. Therefore, he was not stopped at all and directly ran out of the city. Using camouflage to hide outside the city, he caught up with the level 4 mutated corpse. Suddenly, he burst out and instantly killed it. Then, within more than half an hour, Immortal killed more than 10 level 4 mutated corpses in a row. He felt that the energy in his body had increased by a lot. More than 10 minutes later, at the foot of a mountain, there was a cave. Immortal had already quietly hidden in the pile of rocks at the entrance of the cave. At this moment, his body had turned into a pile of rocks again. At this moment, a level 4 mutated corpse ran out of the cave in a panic and came to the pile of rocks. Immortal pounced on the level 4 mutant corpse from behind. He bit off the head of the corpse in one bite. At this moment, 2 more figures ran out of the cave. Immortal quickly hid his body and turned into several pieces of rocks. At the same time, he was ready to attack again. However, when he turned his head to look, he found that the 2 who had just walked out of the cave were not desolate corpses, nor were they desolate beasts. They were 2 humans. A man and a woman. The man had a full beard and held a black longsword in his hand. The woman was prettier and looked a little mischievous. It turned out to be the strong swordsman and his daughter. At this moment, not only did the girl not have the slightest fear, but she was pleasantly surprised. "Dad, why are you here?" The bearded man snorted coldly. "If I didn't come, you would have died long ago." The girl stuck out her tongue and laughed. "I haven't fought in a long time, so I came to Hunting Ground 13 to play." The bearded man snorted again. "Who said that you can only fight in Hunting Ground 13? If you want to learn how to fight, there are many places. Hunting Ground 13 is so dangerous. Dad, I just want to become as strong as you," the girl said. The bearded man looked into the distance. How could he not want his daughter to become stronger? But these places were too dangerous. If he didn't come today, he might not be able to see his daughter for the rest of his life. Finally, after a moment of silence, the bearded man said, "In the future, before you go to dangerous places, tell me." The girl nodded. "Yes, Dad." While the father and daughter were talking, they didn't notice the sea dragon clone that was close at hand. Immortal couldn't help but rejoice in his heart. It seemed that the disguise and concealment skill was still very useful. Even this bearded strong man couldn't detect him. At this moment, the bearded man raised his left hand and dialed a number on his multifunctional watch. The girl asked, "Dad, who are you calling?" The bearded strong man smiled gently at his daughter and said, "A brat. If he hadn't told me the news, you would still be suffering in the underground lair of the desolate corpses." The girl looked at the multifunctional watch curiously. Soon, Immortal's head appeared on the multifunctional watch. Immortal saw this scene from the perspective of the sea dragon clone and couldn't help but be speechless. When did I become a brat? Then his consciousness returned to his main body. The ringtone of the multifunctional watch rang. After pressing the answer button, the bearded strong man's voice came from the other side. "Kid, I owe you a favor. In the future, if you encounter difficulties that you can't solve, come to me. I can help you once." Immortal pretended to be generous and replied, "I just provided some information. I didn't help much." Beep, beep, beep. On the other end of the phone there was a busy tone. Immortal. He hung up without waiting for the other party to finish speaking. "Are all big shots so impolite? And what's your name? Where do you live? How many people do you have in your family? How many acres of land do you have per person? How many cows do you have in the field? How can I find you?" Chapter 291. Before Immortal could finish his words, the bearded man hung up the phone. Immortal could only shake his head helplessly. His consciousness returned to the sea dragon avatar. The girl looked at the dimmed portrait of Immortal on the multifunction watch and asked, "Dad, this little brother is a bit handsome. Aren't you going to thank him?" The bearded man said, "My promise is the greatest gratitude to him. Let's go back." The girl curled her lips. "Dad, can you not act like you're seeing an enemy every time you see a handsome little brother?" She then giggled and said, "Are you afraid that they will kidnap your daughter?" The bearded man sneered. "If they dare kidnap my daughter, I'll exterminate their entire family." The girl rolled her eyes. "Then who will dare to marry me in the future?" The bearded man said, "If they want to marry you, they have to be able to protect you. In the future, when you meet a young man who can defeat me, you can go with him." The girl rolled her eyes again. "I say, Dad, why don't you just let me become a Buddhist nun? You are a great desolate hunter. How many great desolate hunters are there in the entire continent? I'm afraid that there isn't a single young man who can defeat a great desolate hunter. Sigh, my life is so bitter. How can I have a father like you?" The bearded man only said one sentence. "There is always someone better than you." Then he took out a long sword and pressed it gently. The long sword unfolded with a creaking sound, turning into a 5-meter-long giant sword. He pulled his daughter and jumped onto the long sword, leaving the ground in an instant. Immortal saw this scene from the sea dragon avatar's point of view, and he was a bit stunned. Great Desolate Hunter? A top existence in the entire continent. He had guessed that the bearded man was very strong and was likely a level 10 Desolate Hunter. But he didn't expect that he had underestimated him. In the entire continent, there were very few people who had reached the level of Great Desolate Hunter. Each of them was an ancestor-level figure of a large sect. From this, it could be seen how strong the bearded man was. Immortal had previously checked some information about the top experts in the continent. Every Great Desolate Hunter was a powerful existence with a name and a surname. As far as he knew, there were a total of 5 Great Desolate Hunters who used swords. There were also 2 people who used giant swords, but there didn't seem to be one of them. His consciousness quickly returned to his body and opened the search engine of the multifunctional watch. Enter the keyword, Great Desolate Hunter who uses a giant sword, daughter. Soon the virtual interface projected the search results. He clicked on the top one. One sword freezing 16 prefectures. Han Jianxing Immortal looked at the picture again. The person in the picture was using the black high-tech sword. When the sword was closed, it was a normal-sized sword. When the sword was extended, it turned into a 5-meter-long aircraft. It was exactly the same as the huge sword of the bearded man. However, the person in the picture looked like a weak scholar with a dignified appearance. It was really hard for people to connect him with the bearded man just now. Immortal observed him carefully for a moment before he noticed some similarities between his eyes and his forehead. As it turned out, after Han Jianxing grew a beard, it covered most of his face. In addition, his beard was now almost an inch long. At a glance, it was naturally impossible to see his original appearance. He looked at the following description: frowny face Han Jianxing, level 2 Great Desolate Hunter. I attribute talent. At the age of 33 he became a level 1 Great Desolate Hunter. However, he kept a low profile and was not famous. Later his wife was killed. In order to avenge her death, he used a giant sword to kill 32 top experts of the 16 prefectures of the Serene Cloud, slaughtering 17 top forces, and became famous in one battle. The 16 prefectures of the Serene Cloud were shaken, and all the top forces were in danger. Since then he was called One Sword Freezing 16 Prefectures. Han Jianxing has a wife and a daughter. His daughter is called Han Lubai, a level 3 Desolate Hunter. Immortal was secretly amazed when he saw this. A giant sword was able to intimidate the 16 prefectures of the Serene Cloud. What kind of powerful strength was this? One had to know that the flaming beginning continent was huge. The area of each prefecture was almost equivalent to the total area of Earth. One person was able to intimidate the 16 prefectures, which was equivalent to intimidating the area of 16 Earths. This strength was simply terrifying. At the same time, Immortal was also very envious of his daughter. With such a powerful father, his daughter was at most in her 20s, but she was already a level 3 Desolate Hunter. It was so good to have powerful genes. However, Immortal had the sign in system. He believed that in the near future he would be able to surpass Han Lubai. After a while, surpassing Han Jianxing wouldn't be difficult. And now, with Han Jianxing's promise, Immortal had an extremely powerful trump card. Since Han Jianxing had left, Immortal once again returned to the body of the sea dragon clone. Dragons will probed. Just now Han Jianxing had destroyed the underground nest of the desolate corpses. Many of the level 4 mutated corpses had escaped. Immortal easily detected that there were more than 50 level 4 mutated corpses within a radius of 200 kilometers. After swallowing another 40 level 4 mutated corpses, the same kind of tearing pain came from his body. Half an hour later, the sea dragon clone's level finally increased again. Level 5 mutated beast. Immortal let out a long breath. He had finally reached level 5 mutated beast. Now it was time to deal with the Qing family. As for Immortal, he was rushing back. Far away in Yuzhou in the Qing family. The head of the Qing family, Qing, received the news of his son's death. This caused the grief and anger in his chest to reach its peak. His youngest son had died not long ago, and now his second son had died. In just a short month he had lost 2 sons. How could this not make him angry? The murderer of his youngest son's death had not been found yet. But the cause of his second son's death was very obvious. A day ago, his second son went to the first hunting island to catch the 3 suspects. In the end he never returned. Even the people he brought with him and even a giant eagle mech had lost contact with them. Obviously, it was the 3 people on the first hunting island who did it. Hearing this news, Qing slammed his right palm on the table. The metal table was immediately dented by him. Come. A person immediately came in and respectfully said, Master. Order all the elites of the Qing family to head to the first hunting island. I want to raze that place to the ground. Yes. In just half an hour, more than 100 people gathered in front of the Qing family's gate. These more than 100 people were all level 8 or above scavenger. This kind of force was the strongest force of the Qing family. However, just as Qing was about to lead them and set off, a few elders of the family joined forces to stop Qing. Master, the family can't be without a master. If you go, who will preside over the Qing family's affairs? Just send a level 10 expert to lead these people. Why do you have to go out personally? Master, the day of the battle between the top 100 forces is approaching. You have to stay in the family to preside over the overall situation. Chapter 292. Qing listened to the persuasion of these family elders and suppressed the anger in his heart. He pondered for a long time. The martial arts tournament of the top 100 forces was held once every 5 years. During this period, the top 100 forces would send their elites to participate in the tournament. Any force that won the tournament would receive attention from all sides, which would have a positive impact on their reputation and other aspects. Most importantly, if a force won the championship, it would gain a lot of benefits. Thinking of this, Qing finally nodded slowly. Then let Qingming go. Qingming, a level 10 hunter. It should be no problem for him to lead the 100 or so hunters above level 8. When the elders saw this, they heaved a sigh of relief. Soon Qingming was called over. Master, don't worry. I'll catch those 3 people for you. Qing's eyes were full of killing intent. Not only will you catch the culprits, but you will also raze the entire hunting island one to the ground. He was almost gnashing his teeth when he said the last 4 words. Qingming looked at the master and focused his eyes. Yes. Soon, Qingming led the 100 or so hunters including 10 mechas. They rushed to Hunting Island 1. Half a day later, they arrived at Hunting Island 1. Looking down from the sky, the entire Hunting Island 1 was almost covered in blood red. There was only a small green space in the center of the island. There were traces of human activity on the green space. Qingming wouldn't shout at the ground like Qianhuan. He was expressionless and said calmly, Giant Eagle Mecha dropped the bombs. The keyboard player next to him answered, yes. He controlled the 3 Giant Eagle Mecha and flew toward the green space. In the base, Monk had already known that there were more than 100 uninvited guests above the base. And these uninvited guests were obviously up to no good, as they threw 3 Giant Eagle Mecha at the same time. Monk remembered what Immortal said before he left. If they were below the level of a hunter, just ignore them. According to the detection system in the base, the strongest of the people outside were only 3 level 10 desolate hunters. He couldn't help but smile. Looks like I don't need to do anything. Most of the people in the base naturally noticed the movement in the sky. They were speechless as they looked at the group of people in the sky. They were just a group of scavengers. It was another group of people who had come to deliver their heads. Therefore, the people in the base were still busy with their own things. It didn't take long for the 3 Giant Eagle mechs to reach the top of the base. 3 high-explosive bombs were dropped. Qing Yinyan watched as the 3 bombs fell, and a cruel smile appeared on his face. Before every battle, there would be a round of bombardment. This was the Qing clan's way of fighting. It was unknown how many enemies had died in this round of bombardment. Don't look down on the fact that there were only 3 high-explosive bombs. However, the energy of these 3 bombs was enough to level the entire base to the ground. However, right at this moment, everyone from the Qing family narrowed their eyes. When the 3 bombs were 50 meters away from the ground, they seemed to have hit something. It exploded. Moreover, the diameter of each bomb was only 10 meters. The flames and high temperature of the explosion seemed to be enveloped by a layer of invisible energy and quickly disappeared. Qingming frowned. There's some kind of protective shield here. Before he finished speaking, whoosh, a fiery red light pillar as thick as a thigh suddenly shot towards the Qing family. The Qing family had no time to dodge. That beam of light shot straight into the crowd of the Qing clan. In an instant, 3 Qing family members were pierced through by the light pillar. 2 of them even had their heads blown off. Oh no, there's an ambush? Retreat. Qingming's expression changed as he hurriedly shouted. He really couldn't figure out what had shot out that beam of light. Even if it was a fighter mech, it couldn't shoot such a thick light pillar. If it was any other powerful energy weapon, he would at least be able to see where the light pillar came from. However, he couldn't see the source of the light pillar at all. It was as if it had shot out of thin air. Could it be some kind of invisible weapon? However, the facts soon proved that he was wrong. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, as the Qing family members were retreating, dozens of light pillars were shot at them. The Chung family members suffered heavy casualties. However, those light pillars didn't come from one place. Instead, they came from all directions. If it was some kind of invisible powerful weapon, each one of them would be worth at least 100 million. With so many weapons coming from all directions, how much would that be? Therefore, it was impossible. Then what was the source of these light pillars? However, Qingming didn't have time to think about it. After a round of attacks, more than 30 of the people he brought with him were killed or injured. He could only ask them to run away as fast as they could. Run, use all your means, run. Qingming shouted as he pressed the teleportation device in his hand. The next moment, his entire body turned into a bluish-white ball of light and disappeared on the spot. At the same time, a few other Qing family members who had teleportation devices also disappeared on the spot. However, teleportation devices weren't cheap to begin with. Even the Qing family members didn't have one. Therefore, the remaining Qing family members were in for a tragedy. They screamed as they ran away from Hunting Island number 1. They watched as their companions were blasted into 2 pieces one by one. Their limbs were blasted off. Their heads were blasted off. Almost everyone's face turned pale. They thought that coming to Hunting Island number 1 today would be a massacre. However, it turned out that they guessed the beginning but not the ending. A massacre was a massacre, but it was someone else who was slaughtering them. In the end, more than 100 people from the Qing family, more than 100, died on Hunting Island 1. The remaining 30 or so people flew out of Hunting Island number 1. They thought that as long as they got out of Hunting Island number 1, they would be able to escape. However, it turned out that they were wrong once again. They were already more than 50 kilometers away from Hunting Island number 1, but the light pillars were still shooting at them. The speed of the light pillars was so fast that the hunters couldn't compare to it. They could only watch as the light pillars pierced through their bodies. In the end, the Qing family lost more than 30 level 9 hunters in this battle. In addition, more than 50 level 8 hunters were killed. When everything quieted down, the people on Hunting Island number 1 all had an "I knew it" expression on their faces. Since Mr. Mo's rise, the entire Hunting Island number 1 seemed to have become insanely powerful. None of the people who came to Hunting Island number 1 had a good ending. When Little Monk saw this scene from the surveillance device, he was both excited and regretful. It was so King fun. It's a pity that I didn't kill them myself. It's King annoying. Amit Ba, good job. Chapter 293. The Qing family members either died or ran away. Qingming and a few others who had teleportation devices managed to escape back to the Qing family in the nick of time. Qing was in his study, looking through the list of participants for the martial arts tournament. Qingming's panicked and anxious voice came from outside the door. Master, this is bad. Qing had heard too much bad news recently. He had a hunch that something was going to happen. He frowned and said, "Come in and talk." Qingming walked in quickly. His hair was messy and his clothes were untidy. He looked a little disheveled. Qing sized up Qingming a few times. His expression was somewhat unsightly. What happened? Qingming had only left for half a day. According to the distance, he should have just arrived at Hunting Island 1. But he suddenly came back. Obviously, he activated the teleportation device and ran back. Qingming's expression was grim. He replied, "Master, there's something wrong with Hunting Island 1. We underestimated it." Qing's expression was grim. "Tell me more." Qingming nodded. "Yes, master. When we arrived at Hunting Island 1, I sent 3 giant eagle mechs to drop bombs. But when we were halfway there, the 3 bombs exploded, and the explosion range was only 10 meters. It looks like it's being blocked by some invisible force. Then thousands of light beams blasted at us. Those light beams could easily kill us." When Qing heard this, his expression became even uglier. "So, there are many mechs on Hunting Island 1? He had expected there to be mechs on Hunting Island 1, but he did not expect there to be so many of them. Qingming shook his head. "No, it's not mechs. It seems to be some kind of powerful weapon that can turn invisible, and there are many of them." Qing asked again. "What about the mechs you brought there?" Qingming heard Master's question and recalled the scene he saw in a hurry. His voice was much lower. "They seem to have some kind of weapon that can interfere with the protective shield of our mechs. Almost all of our mechs were shot down by them." Qing's heart sank when he heard this. He did not expect Hunting Island 1 to be so despicable. If he had known this would happen, he would have done it himself and flattened the entire Hunting Island number 1. If the first Hunting Island had a weapon that could even make a LV-10 hunter turn around and run away, then only a hunter like him could do it. Moreover, he was originally full of ambition and was prepared to let the outstanding disciples of the Qing family take part in this martial arts competition to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. As a result, more than 100 elite disciples of the Qing family had died on Hunting Island number 1. Then, his plan to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat that he had conceived for several years would fail. There was no doubt that the Qing clan would be defeated in the martial arts tournament. Thinking of this, Qing was furious. Looking at the people on the screen in his study room, he gritted his teeth and said, "Immortal, Emma and this idiot. If I Qing don't kill you, I swear I'm not human." At the same time, on Hunting Island number 1. After the enemy retreated, Guojutao ordered the people in the base to come out and clean up the mess. As for the dozens of mechs that the opponent brought, they were shot down by the mechs in the base after their defenses were broken by Tyrant spider drones. Tyrant looked at the mechs with a hint of joy in his eyes. If we put these mechs together, we should be able to put together 7 or 8 usable mechs. As a result, there were 7 or 8 more mechs in the base. It could be said that at this time, if nothing else was taken into consideration, Hunting Island number 1 could completely crush the Qing clan, which was ranked 84th in Yuzhou, in terms of high-end combat power. 2 days later, Immortal returned to the base. After not seeing Immortal for a while, Happy naturally treated him well. He cared for him in every possible way. Immortal enjoyed Happy's care while listening to Guojutao's report. Guojutao told him about the major events that happened in the past few days. In the end, he said, among the more than 100 people, some of them had teleportation devices. They activated the devices and escaped from Hunting Island number 1. Mr. Mo, we have to be careful these days. According to my estimation, those who escape will soon come back with the others. Immortal smiled and shook his head. They won't. Guojutao was puzzled. Why are you so sure, Mr. Mo? Immortal replied. Because I'll kill my way to their nest and wipe out their entire clan. Hearing this, Guojutao's heart skipped a beat. He said, Mr. Mo, won't that be too risky? Immortal smiled and shook his head. Don't worry. With Immortal's character, he naturally wouldn't do something too risky. But now that the sea dragon clone had reached the strength of a level 5 mutated wild beast, what was there to be afraid of? Seeing that he couldn't persuade Immortal, Guojutao didn't say anything more. He only asked, Mr. Imo, how many people do you want to take with you? I'll go now. Immortal shook his head and said, I'll be fine by myself. Ha! Guojutao was even more surprised. Mr. Imo was indeed very strong, but the Qing clan was ranked 84th in Yuzhou after all. There were even desolate hunters in the clan. Although Mr. Imo was powerful, he was still far from being a desolate hunter. It was simply too risky for him to fight against the entire Qing clan alone. Even if he knew that Mr. Mo's real strength was far from what he showed on the surface, it was still too risky for him to fight against the entire Qing clan alone. Thinking of this, he hurriedly advised. Mr. Imo, I'm afraid, this is not appropriate. The Qing clan of Yuzhou is ranked 84th in the entire Yuzhou. Not only do they have desolate hunters, but they also have more than 20 mechas. Mr. Imo, if you fight against such a big force alone, I'm afraid. Immortal waved his hand and said, Don't worry. Don't worry. Normally he was too lazy to explain anything. He would just kill them directly. Besides, Immortal had another reason for going to Yuzhou this time, to sign in at those mecha factories. Therefore, although Immortal had just returned, he didn't stay for long. He directly performed the Dragon Shadow Steps and teleported to Yuzhou. According to the map navigation on the multifunctional watch, he easily found the Qing clan of Yuzhou. The Qing clan was located at the foot of a mountain in the Qing clan town by the river. 1,000 years ago, the ancestor of the Qing clan started farming here. Gradually, a village was formed. When the Qing clan produced a desolate hunter, people came because of his reputation. Gradually, a town was formed which was called Qing Clan Town. When Immortal was 150 kilometers away from Qing Clan Town, he spread out his dragon's will and probed the entire Qing clan. In his investigation, thousands of Qing clan members were gathered in front of the Qing clan's gate. After this chapter is published, there are no more manuscripts left. Tomorrow I can only write and publish as I wish. As for the typos and the like, please bear with it. After I finish my work tonight, I will correct the typos. Chapter 294. According to Immortal's investigation, thousands of people had gathered in front of the Qing family compound in the Qing family village of Qing Town. There were also more than 10 combat mechas. The people who had just escaped from the first hunting island were among them. A middle-aged man with a cold face was standing in front of the thousands of people. His eyes were filled with anger. The first hunting island killed my son. If I don't kill him, how can I call myself a father? A mere first hunting island dares to bully the Qing family. I Qing will kill my way to the first hunting island and raze it to the ground. The thousands of people below all raised their right arms and shouted, "Raze it to the ground! Raze it to the ground! Raze it to the ground!" Especially Qing Ming and the others who had just escaped. How could Qing clan of Yuzhou province be bullied by number 1 hunting island? This time, with the head of the family, a desolate hunter, they did not believe that they could not destroy the first hunting island. Immortal sneered when he saw this. He jumped. In just 2 steps he appeared in front of the Qing family compound. The thousands of people of the Qing family were stunned when they saw the young man who had suddenly appeared. When the head of the family, Qing, saw Immortal, he could no longer suppress the anger in his chest. Although he had not seen Immortal before, according to the video provided by the second hunting island, he knew that this person was from the first hunting island. And he was probably the murderer of his 2 sons. His 2 sons, and he had not gone to find him, but he had taken the initiative to come. This was too much. Preposterous. Boy, did you kill my sons? Qing asked angrily with bloodshot eyes. Even though he was already a desolate hunter, it was still hard for him to accept that his 2 sons had been killed. Immortal nodded indifferently and said in a flat tone, "You guessed right." The thousands of people of the Qing family heard this and their eyes were filled with anger. This boy is courting death. You killed the 2nd and 3rd young masters. The Qing family will not let you off. Boy die. Someone had already stepped forward amidst the roars. It was a level 8 scavenger. Immortal didn't wait for him to condense his genetic martial art. His silhouette flashed. He instantly disappeared from where he stood. When he reappeared, he was already behind the level 8 hunter. He then punched the back of the level 8 scavenger. The level 8 hunter was slightly shocked. This kid's movement technique was really fast. But that was all. From the moment Immortal made his move, he had already felt that Immortal was a level 5 hunter. A mere level 5 hunter dared to be presumptuous in front of him. Thinking of this, he abruptly turned around. His right fist punched out towards Immortal. Bang! Crack! When the 2 fists collided, the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Then he looked at the level 8 scavenger. His right arm was snapped off at a horrifying angle as it was bent backwards. At the same time, his body flew more than 30 meters away. Piff! A mouthful of blood spurted out just like in the movies. It formed a bloody mist that spread under the sunlight. When the surrounding people saw that this person had already fainted, they were all shocked. This kid was really strong. The family elders rushed over and checked the person's breath. There was no breath. They touched his chest. His heart had already stopped beating. Then they touched his dantian. There was no longer a trace of energy surging there. This was enough to show that this level 8 scavenger had already died from his dantian ruptured. The more the elder checked, the more shocked he became. The shock on his face became more and more intense. After a moment, he looked at Immortal in disbelief and said to Qing, "Died from ruptured dantian." As soon as he said this, the scene suddenly became silent. When Immortal made his move just now, they could all feel that this guy was only a level 5 hunter. A mere level 5 hunter actually killed a level 8 scavenger in an instant. This was really too exaggerated. On the Flaming Origin continent, it was very common to fight with people of a higher level. But fighting with people of a higher level meant that they were challenging people with stronger abilities. So, usually, when fighting with people of a higher level, it was very rare to be able to kill the opponent in an instant. Not to mention killing an opponent who was 3 levels higher than him. However, this was only what the family members with lower abilities saw. The stronger clansmen of the Qing family saw it from a different perspective. This guy did not even condense a genetic weapon when he killed their family member who was 3 levels higher than him. In other words, he was purely using his physical strength to kill their family member who was 3 levels higher than him. This was what shocked them the most. This kid's physical strength was actually so terrifying. In other words, if he used a genetic weapon or even an energy weapon, wouldn't he be able to challenge a level 10 scavenger? Hiss, hiss, hiss. The few elders of the Qing family all sucked in a breath of cold air. Challenging someone who was 5 levels higher than him, even in the entire history of the continent, was probably only a few times. If this kid could really do it, then he would definitely be a peerless genius. At this time, Qingming also subconsciously took a small step back. He was still scared. As a level 10 scavenger, he suffered a great loss when he went to the first hunting island today. He was already burning with anger. When he saw that Immortal dared to challenge the Qing family single-handedly, He was even more furious. Therefore he wanted to be the first to go up and kill this kid. In the end, that family member beat him to it. Now, it seemed that he was lucky that family member beat him to it. Otherwise, if he went up rashly and met this crazy kid, he might not be able to win. Cheng Ching saw that Immortal had killed a clansman with a single punch. So, he was surprised in his heart. But his anger rose even higher. This was an old grudge that had yet to be avenged, and now there was a new one. Thinking of this, he roared angrily, "Keyboard player, kill this kid for me." When the keyboard player heard this, he quickly replied, "Yes." Then he opened the keyboard on his belt and his fingers quickly danced on it. However, at this time, Immortal's figure had already appeared behind the keyboard player. He directly threw a punch at the keyboard player. Almost at the same time, the head of the Qing family had also appeared behind the keyboard player. He reached out his right hand and grabbed Immortal's arm. Seeing this, Immortal's figure immediately flashed. In an instant he was among the more than 1,000 people of the Qing family. He opened up his fists and threw a punch at the Qing family members. Bang! With one punch he killed a level 2 scavenger. Killed a level 2 scavenger. Obtained 2 drops of Titan Dragon blood. Bang! With one punch he killed a level 7 scavenger. Killed a level 7 scavenger. Obtained 7 drops of Titan Dragon blood. Bang! Killed a level 8 scavenger. Obtained 8 drops of Titan Dragon blood. As Immortal waved his fists, his mind was already filled with the information about the Titan Dragon blood. The Qing family members, on the other hand, were in a panic, and their expressions changed drastically.